When he comes to the one song, is one of the all-time greats.
Goes off on that rant.
I wonder what his box plus minus is.
I like him. That's all I know. I like that guy.
His per 36 numbers. 0 points, 20 assists a game.
I don't know. I bet you the big fella scored. Did you read the whole article? The other guy they got in the paint? He's like 7'3" hundo.
I was
the other guy's like 6'5", 260. Bless you.
Dude, oh my gosh.
And I stupidly took that article down. I'm telling you.
Look
at that guy's 6'4", 220 that he's standing next to. It's a big human.
I don't know if you've ever seen
Here it is. 6'5", 280, 7 foot 360. That's in the paint for St. Francis playing D3 ball or whatever the hell it is.
St. John Fisher.
Yeah, playing NAIA ball or something like that.
They were D3 when I was.
I think they're still D3
back in the day.
No, I think they are because he had in here. Yeah, they're D3.
Yep.
He goes. Here I am minding my own business, watching some basketball. My buddy who went to Buffalo sent me this. Simply outrageous. Mostly because we're talking about a D3 school that plays the likes of Elmira, Utica, Hartwig, etc.
Exactly.
That's why I knew who you know.
Right.
Right.
Total. I did.
You call against them, right?
Scranton would play them every year.
Oh, God. Could you imagine calling them? That big fella? You'd have to go raft.
How long were you in Scranton?
I went to college for 4+ years, and then I lived there for 3 years, 4 years. I was there 8 years.
Like you lived there 3 years after college?
Yeah, even more. Because I got a job working at a TV station the summer before my senior year of college. So I was 20 and I was, working. So
kind of like you.
Right.
I mean, very similar. I mean, look at him. He's been doing the same job for roughly 32 years. He's getting up at 4 a.m.
Right. Making about the same money.
Want to go up top before the show? Woohoo!
There we go.
All right.
There we go. Keep those cards and letters coming.
30 seconds.
Golly.
That's why you're on here early, folks. Buying dryers from Cleveland.
From Cleveland, folks.
She rips the knee brace off in the one spot I watched the other day.
Man.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday, the 14th of December. The days are counting down until the holidays. Are you ready? How's your week going? Hope it got off to a good start. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Mark, top of the morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing good, David. And I'll tell you what, if there was ever a day to come to Twitch TV and see your Easter egg, it's Miller and Moulton today. David in his light green FGCU shirt, me in my purple East Carolina golf shirt. We could be right on top of an Easter egg. We are definitely dressed for the wrong damn holiday this morning.
We just need some of that, Easter basket, fake grass,
right?
The two of us to be in. That's true. I didn't realize that.
I didn't either, but I'm looking at the screen and I went, man, I should have worn red. I was way off on my colors this morning.
Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. You could see us in our Easter glory.
Kind of like Kyler Murray in the red zone yesterday.
They were maybe a play away from the Rams being in a whole heap of trouble. And then from that moment on, the Rams said, we'll take it from here. Thank you.
They didn't block very well after that up front. Murray ran around a lot, threw another pick later.
This just
It was an entertaining game.
Well, the Rams are a top-heavy team, and they're big-named guys who are making a lot of coin. They produced last night. It's as simple as that. And if they're going to produce, they're going to be a problem. I mean, let's face it. Their top-end guys are as good or better than most everybody's top-end guys. I mean, Stafford is a top 10 quarterback when he's on. There's no question about that. He's a top 10 quarterback when he plays pretty well.
Well, and you know what? I think that's perfect because he is somewhere between 9 and 20. You know what I mean? But when the A game's there, it's every bit of that 9.
Oh, when
maybe even 5, 6,
yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
But you're right in your ranking. He's probably at the bottom end of the top 10, but he could be at the bottom end of the teens. It just depends on which guy shows up. Last night, good, bad Stafford showed up.
And, their receiving core, even with, the big injury.
With Woods out, right.
But with Kupp and with Odell, Van Jefferson, a nice number 3. Thank you very much. Odell showing, by the way, maybe the problem was chemistry between him and Baker because he certainly looks okay playing for the Rams.
Right. There are still moments, and he was good last night. But, one of the things, and I guarantee you, Pat Kirwan will say it this morning. He doesn't know the playbook. Well, that was evident last night in a play in which they had to burn a timeout because he was lined up in the wrong spot.
Right.
So, last night you got both sides of what's going on with Odell Beckham. You got the good, and you did get a play or two of the bad.
Right.
But the good outweighed the bad last night far and away.
And they've got 4 difference makers on defense, one of whom didn't play last night because he was put on the COVID list. But up front, they've got 3 guys who, when they bring it, are an absolute handful. I mean, let's face it. Donald has to be blocked by 2 guys on every play. And even then, there's a good chance he's going to cause a disruption. We had a Von Miller sighting yesterday. That's always good.
Well, it was nice to see that he made it to Los Angeles finally.
And so, the big guys for the Rams showed up. And in a must-win for them, or else Arizona essentially would have won the division last night, the Rams said, not so fast, my friend. Now, Arizona right now has the tiebreaker because they have a better division record. They're a game up on the Rams in the standings, but also they have a 4-1 division record, and the Rams are 2-2 in the division. So final game of the year for Arizona is Seattle. They can afford a loss, but it really can't be the final game of the year against Seattle if you're Arizona. If Arizona loses one more game, but they beat Seattle, they're going to win the West. But last night's game, Mark, pretty costly and great news for the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Went from the 3 to the 2 last night. Green Bay is the 1. They have an 8-2 conference record. Tampa Bay with a 6-3 conference record. If you're playing the schedule game down the road and figure out how we're going to get to a wacky tiebreaker, Green Bay needs to lose the conference game, not the game in Baltimore.
Although, actually, the game in Baltimore would be fine because they're tied with the Bucks in the standings. They just need to lose a game.
Well, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, because if the Bucks run the table, right.
Game. But if Tampa now knows if they run the table, the worst they're going to be is the 2. I think that's significant for 2 reasons. One, the 2.
I see what you did. Yeah. That was, 606. That's
pretty good for 606.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. A little something for the effort.
Yeah, well done. Well played.
The little Chuck Woolery.
2 and 2.
But 1, the 2 seed plays the 7 seed. Well, the Rams right now are the 5, and San Francisco has won 4 of 5, and they're the 6. And the Niners are a pain in the you-know-what to play. They're physical. They can run the ball on anybody. And let's face it, even though Tampa's got those 2 great linebackers, Kittle is a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. And San Francisco is a very physical team. So if you're Tampa, if you had to play a wild card team, you'd want to play the 7, which right now is a bunch of losing teams. Of all the teams that are 6 and 7, do you really think any one of those teams is going to come into Tampa and win a first-round game? And then also, obviously, as the 2, you would host the division round.
Pretty good chance that and pretty good chance too that the Niners are going to go 2-2. Like I don't see the Niners doing any worse than 2-2. They've got 2 near cupcake type games, and then they have 2 tough games. They are at Tennessee and they play the Rams the last game of the season. That'll mean something for the Rams more than likely. It may not, because if everything holds according to Hoyle for Arizona, that game would could essentially mean very little come the end of the year.
The Rams could be locked in as the 5 seed heading into that game and just kind of, rests their key players.
And they would. By the way, a team that's that top heavy would for sure, if locked into a seed, rest their players.
Sure. And get ready for what looks like Dallas. And now with Arizona dropping down to the 3, only a game ahead of the Cowboys, second to last game of the season, Arizona at Dallas. Dallas now looks at there and thinks, if we win out, I think we can move up and be the 3. So a significant loss for Arizona last night. They go from the 1 to the 3 and now put themselves in position where one more loss, they could drop down to the 4, or the right loss, they could even drop all the way down to the 5.
We really should be throwing $20 in a pool and make Felipe do it too, and grab 2 people in this building that like us and not even bet on it. Just throw all the 6 and 7 teams in a hat and everybody gets one. Winner takes the pot. Because I know you can sit there and say, I think it's going to be the Washington football team, but you don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Every 6 and 7 team is bad. I mean, you would bet on Minnesota because you've laid it out there all year.
Only
you have no choice. You have no choice.
Right. I've died on that hill.
Exactly.
Right.
But I mean, I kind of looked at that and I looked at San Francisco's schedule really quickly. Well, they play Houston at home. They play Atlanta at home. They're an 8.5-point favorite this week against Atlanta. They play Houston in a couple weeks. They should win those 2 games. 2 road games if they lose. All right. If they're 9-8, I would bet anybody that they're the 6th seed.
Yeah.
So then you've got Washington, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Atlanta, and New Orleans.
Right.
All 6 and 7.
Correct.
All essentially fighting for one playoff spot.
Correct. And we asked the question yesterday, of those 5 teams, can one of them go 3-1 the rest of the way, which means they'd get to 9-8? Or is it going to be a jambalaya at 8 and 9 and it's going to come down to conference record?
If it's jambalaya, doesn't that mean automatically the Saints are in?
Nice. Well played.
Thank you.
Nice. Well done.
Thank you.
So there you have it. So a significant game last night. Good game. You could tell 2 good teams. A couple of key plays was the difference. Almost all of them went the Rams' way. Tell you what, though, we've seen the last 2 days in the NFL, we've seen 2 onside kicks recovered. Ravens against the Browns and Cardinals against the Rams. When's the last time, when they changed the rules, what was it, 2-3 seasons ago, you've hardly seen any onside kicks recovered, and we've had 2 in 48 hours.
Well, Tucker's been kicking in the game a long time. They did point out prior to Tucker kicking the onside kick that he had never had one recovered by the kicking team in his career prior to it going off the Cleveland Browns helmet there, the fullback, running back, whoever he was, their safety.
You might want to look at
whatever that special team guys that got cut.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure if he's been cut yet, but I'm pretty sure he's been cut.
Next time onside kick, he may want to look for the ball. Just throwing that out there.
Let it get by you before you block the guy.
Right.
That's the key there.
Mm-hmm. Well, 2 veteran kickers, Tucker and Matt Prater, last night. Prater had a nice night, hit 3 long field goals, 2 of them 50-plus.
God, the one before the half there was good from 65.
Yeah, well, didn't he kick, what was it, 64?
He had the 64 that Tucker just regained the record of against the Lions, right?
Yep, the one that won it off the crossbar.
That's 2. Dempsey and that. The records, apparently you do it against Detroit.
You set the record.
While Detroit sets a record for losing.
Miller and Moulton. We have a really good show lined up for you today, if we do say so ourselves. A lot of football, obviously. Bill Bender, talk a little college ball in a little more than an hour. It is a Tuesday. That means Pat Kirwan from NFL Radio will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. And how about them Cowboys? Bobby Belt will join us. Talk a little Dallas in the 9 o'clock hour. Miller and Moulton, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Thanks for starting your day with us here on the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Sup.
Sup, man.
By the way, Mark, I don't know if you've seen it because he's blowing up on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and all this stuff. But there's this kid, high school basketball player, who has one arm.
I have not.
Who is...
I always laugh because what's on your TikTok and what's on my TikTok.
A little different.
Jake and I talk about it all the time. He's like, yeah, he goes, I was going to send you stuff. I go, you can send me. I go, if it offends me, I'm going to tell you, don't send me that crap ever again. It's pretty easy.
But his name is Hansel Dominguez, and he is really, really, really good. And it's weird how good he is.
I just saw a girl that beat Bronny in a free throw shooting contest.
Oh, yeah?
Like, can't miss, something's her name. Like, and she's beaten. She played him for his shoes.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, no. Take him off.
Take him off.
Now.
Okay, you're barefoot now.
Like, she doesn't miss free throws.
But this kid's playing at the City of Palms Classic.
Oh.
Yeah. It's going to be really fun this year. Which chatters, if you go to that tournament, you'll see me running around the court with a phone pointing in front of random people's faces.
Are you working the tournament?
Yeah. I'm going to be working every day of the tournament.
For?
Like hours? You're saying for?
Who are you working for?
Oh, it's like the marketing company. It's called Diamond Girls.
Gotcha.
But I'm basically going to be running their social medias, like posting stories and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
Can't wait till you do that for us. You know, you walked right into that too. You knew that was coming.
Come on.
Bobby Belt TX. That's Twitter.
I believe so. Hold on.
What I'm going with.
Yeah, Bobby Belt TX.
Wonder what Cowboys. Wonder what their Twitter is, where I get the logo. Dallas Cowboys. Well, there you have it. I'll tell you, you got to do the whole thing to get the star. Hell, David.
Shazam. You got your practice for the City of Palms with the Fort Myers tip-off, right?
No, I'm not going to be mopping floors.
Oh, damn.
No, he's actually working this one, he said. He's doing social media for a
Oh,
company.
cool.
That's why I said he's doing social media, all the social media for this company. I said one day maybe he'll do that for
Us?
when he gets paid for.
Wow. Man, Well, he can get away with it. He fed you this morning. You know, he's got some liberties.
Well, yeah. Called passive aggressive.
Oh, yes.
And we are good at it.
Well, Felipe, he's Catholic. He's really good at it.
I was going to make a comment because you guys were talking about your outfits. It is Advent.
I know.
There you go.
We have our Advent wreath out.
There you
We
go.
say our Advent prayers every night in our house. We are very Catholic. At least 2 of the 3 are.
David,
Listen,
ordinary time's over. So
listen, you get to look at your wife and go, hey, I was Catholic first. You've got seniority. That's what you need to use.
My mother, we both went to confession. My mother was 30 years plus too since she went.
Right.
She was came over Sunday. She goes, man, that guy thinks he brought everybody back. He's telling all the priests. I had 2 of them.
2 of them from the Reagan administration.
30 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
19 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Florida Sports Network. You can watch the show 6 to 10 a.m. weekdays on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. Text into the show. If you never have before, you have to take one step. One small step. Text FSN Radio. It's all one word. FSN Radio to 21,000, and then you're in. And then let us know what is on your mind. Had a couple of good poll questions yesterday, I thought.
We did. The first was simply, where will Urban Meyer be working 1 year from now? Your 3 choices were the Jags head coach. That finished in dead last. Fox College pregame, that finished second, and host at his Columbus bar garnered half of the votes.
So did it get a majority? No
50%,
runoff?
50% right on the nose,
There you
David.
go. That's what you need in Georgia. No runoff. Okay, good.
And 72% of you, including the 2 hosts of this show, have a fake tree.
Right. Felipe shaking his head at us. You're too young. Right, you are. You're too young.
Well,
you get working, you have a family, that sort of deal. And then when you get in your late 30s and 40s, and then you realize that you want a real tree, but it's not convenient.
And they're expensive.
It's not convenient.
You know what? I think it depends on the house. Because if I did not have the super high ceiling room, I'd have a real tree still. Literally bought the best Christmas tree stand for a real tree ever. I still have it. Thing doesn't move. David, you and I have had this conversation on air and off air. The putting up of the Christmas tree in the mid 70s is probably the leading cause for divorce in the United States of America. You had a green tub with 3 wing nuts.
Right.
That was supposed to hold said tree perfectly straight.
Right. And you were supposed to hold a California redwood and have it be straight up in the air. Right.
And my recollection of these things went like this. Is it straight yet? Is it straight yet? Yep, that's it. All right, screw it in right there. That's not straight. About 3 of those, Dad fires the tree into the wall, leaves to go to the bar to get drunk all afternoon. Mom cries while putting up Christmas ornaments all day. Merry Christmas from the Miller family. And I do not think my experience, looking back upon it, was a unique experience of a child of the 70s or early 80s. I think this happened in multiple houses across our great land. And therefore, you know what about the fake tree? It's always straight, and the lights are always on it. Just saying.
I mean, I didn't think it would get that dark, but yeah.
Oh, no.
Felipe.
Happy holidays from the Millers.
My mom was always working. It was just my mom and I, and she was working 3 jobs. So the Christmas tree was not a priority. It'd be a last minute thing. And literally my mother would on the 23rd or 24th, all right, buy, and you know what's left on the lot on the 23rd or the 24th. I mean, something that has a hole in it. You know, it's like trees that has its own pothole.
The ugly ducking.
That's what we would have. And they, of course, would be tilted. So not only would we have to spin the tree, put it in the corner so that the hole in the tree would be in the back so that no one would see, but it would be crooked. And we had hooks. If you look closely in the apartment, we had hooks on both sides of the wall, because depending on which way the tree leaned, then we'd have to get out the rope or what have you and attach it to the hook and pull the tree to straighten it. So we had the tree with the hole and the rope to keep it up straight.
And you know, I miss my father tremendously. My mom's still around, and my parents are long since divorced. But it really seems that if my dad would have been a fisherman instead of a golfer, we might have been able to save this thing. Because that fishing line thing did not happen at 415 West Gloucester, David. Gotcha. You know, it's up now here in behind the gates because I'm afraid the cats are going to take the tree down. I mean, I've got that thing anchored.
Don't blame
and so far, they haven't even gone up.
That's good to know. I'm curious how many of you on the 14th, you know, is there anybody out there still doing it the way that Mama Moulton used to do it back in the day, in which you're still without a tree, you're still waiting?
Yeah, they're called single guys that are listening to our show.
Mean.
No doubt.
That's what I mean.
A couple of those guys are going to go to Costco or Home Depot and buy that little 2-footer here in the next little bit and just put it up and say, there you go.
That's what I'm
How you like your Christmas now?
Yep. How many of you are, you know, going to make sure that you go out and you get something that looks like Christmas to have it for this weekend because you've got somebody coming over, you know, and you want your place to look as if, you know, you're.
Let me ask you, Felipe, you talk so eloquently about the real tree that your mom and dad put up. My guess is your mother. Dad gets it in the stand. Yeah, mom does the rest of the work.
Both.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Love it.
I'm thinking dad drags it in.
Dad drags it in, puts it in the stand.
Right.
And then after that, it's kind of on mom. That's usually the way these things go.
He's the one on the ladder getting yelled at to cut the top.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Can you give me a quick how mom yells? Does she swear in Spanish at him at that point?
No. You know, Yvette isn't as Hispanic as you think.
Okay.
She's Hispanic. Don't get me wrong. She's Hispanic, but you wouldn't notice, I don't think.
All right. I mean, because
does she sound close to the way that I impersonated her a couple of weeks ago?
No.
Okay. All right, but you speak so eloquently of the tree at home, and I love the wonderful upbringing you must have had and the closest of your family. But at your house here currently,
whatever.
But at your current apartment here, is there a tree up?
I knew you were gonna go there. Yes, there is, and it's fake.
All right,
and it's not mine. It's my roommate's.
But you have a tree up, and so if you were to answer the question. You have a fake tree in the place you live.
You claim it, though. You just did. You claim it.
You now have a job.
In the living room. Look.
You have a job, and that job has an address listed for your residence. And the address listed for your residence where you're currently employed, do you have a real or a fake tree?
Fake. The defense rests, Your Honor.
Done with this guy.
Right.
I plead the fifth.
Well, you should.
It might as well be an admission of guilt. That's how we roll.
It usually is.
That's how we roll, especially in talk radio, Felipe. You'll learn. All right. Taking the fifth means you're wrong.
You're guilty.
Or you're guilty. One or the other.
Glad we got all that. We got to get a poll question out today. We'll probably have 2 again because I'm excited about the holidays.
I know. You are feeling it, which is good. It's good to see. Glad to see it. You know what? You know who's in a giving mood? College football. Man, oh man. What is there more of? Gifts from Santa or players in the transfer portal?
B, and it ain't close. You know, I've fallen in love with those Home Depot ads with the small gloves and all that. The Fairbanks, Alaska one. There aren't enough small gloves. There aren't enough gloves for the guys that have jumped into the portal. This is, I love it. And I know most of you don't. Because I talk to a lot of you.
That could be the poll question, by the way.
I love it.
All right.
Do you like the transfer portal?
Because now this is the first year that it is really, it's rolling. It's full steam ahead right now.
And, I'm not doing this because they're my alma mater, but because of this, I mean, Michigan State did a hell of a lot in the last year. Holy cow, did they turn college football on its ear. The little school in East Lansing, Tucker goes to the transfer portal, gets 85,000 players to come to East Lansing, of which a few are pretty good, and they have a remarkable season. Then he gets paid more money than a college coach should get paid for 1 year of success, which leads to everybody paying coaches outrageous sums of money, and every football team now going, can we pull off what Michigan State did in the transfer portal? If you're not Ohio State, Clemson, Florida, you know the main players. But if you're everybody else, you looked at what happened and went, well, why can't we do that? And the players, David, have said, we're moving.
Yep.
And you and I have always been for the player.
Yes, we're pro player and not stadium.
No, we like Joe Robbie better.
Right. But we have always been pro the college athlete, getting whatever it is they can get. We're fine with that. And we understand and admit it's going to be messy. And when all this stuff, when the transfer and the NIL and all that, we said, oh, it's going to be nuts. 3 to 5 years it's going to take to settle down so that everybody figures out exactly what it's going to be. And exactly what it's going to be may just be organized chaos. Like right now, it's a little disorganized chaos. Maybe the best we're going to do every offseason is organized chaos. Miller and Moulton are okay with that, at least for now.
I believe you're going to see college football become a little even more NFL-like. Just what you're hearing people talk, and when you're hearing people who aren't really involved day-to-day in the college game say, you know, this doesn't look right to us. This seems unorganized. This is messy.
Unseemly.
This would never happen in the NFL. And I'll give Rich Eisen credit. Listen to him talk about it. You know, he's a pro guy. He works for the NFL Network, but he's jumped all in this year because he's a Michigan grad. And why are these coaches leaving? They start asking real questions. Well, we got to save a recruiting class. Well, why are we having to save a recruiting class so we have to fire a coach in October? They're all real questions. Now, you and I have thought the early signing period was a great idea.
Yes.
For the kid.
Right.
He can make the decision, sign a piece of paper, and be left alone for the rest of his senior year.
By the way, I think it's great for the schools. I mean, and I think it's great for every level. The Alabamas and Ohio States of the world do not want to have to keep recruiting their recruits for another 7 weeks until the first Wednesday of February. They're like, this kid wants to sign with us. Let him sign with us in mid-December. Can we get these 18, 20 off the board so that we don't have to spend the next 7 weeks continuing to recruit players that we're 99% sure are coming here? And then it allows the rest of the world, the middle of the road Power Five, the group of five, they all know who's off the board. They're the middle of the Power Five are the second and third round players, so to speak. And the group of five are the 4 through 7 round players. Good. Now we know who's off the board.
Bud Elliott has said on the show that he thinks that the Notre Dames, the Vanderbilts, the Northwesterns, the Stanfords, the really elite academic schools have been hurt by this.
Well, we'll see.
It's been his theory, is that with the later signing period, they had more time to sell what they're about, what their school's about. And they're after a different athlete sometimes and more national. That's about the only quote unquote complaint I've got from someone who recruits, if you know what I mean, who follows the recruiting. The rest of it are coaches and ADs complaining about the system because apparently now it affects them in the wrong way. Your point, David, is extremely valid. Ask Nick Saban if he wants to recruit a kid from December 15th to February 5th when the kid's already said, I want to come play for you.
Right.
Now, a lot of them now have also, because of the early signing period, are doing the early enroll more than ever before.
Right. Which I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of. I understand if we do one, we theoretically should be allowed to do the other, but it's a personal thing with me, not a football thing with me. I just think a senior year of high school is time that you're never able to get back and that we should not be rushing it.
And David, you know I'm in agreement with you. Happened to be with a pretty high-level former college coach in the last couple of weeks whose son is now a college athlete. And had that exact conversation. The coach, for the record, was 100% on my side until his son looked at him and said, Dad, I don't care about any of that. I hope one day to play in the National Football League. I want to start playing football now. I have worked my whole life to get to this point to play college football. I want to go play college football, Dad. And the dad looked at me and he goes, I said all of the same things you said. Prom, your senior year. He looked at me and goes, I can come back to prom. And after hearing a coach who was on my side, son, basically say, Dad, you're wrong, I went, wow, that's because we are talking about a small faction percentage of athletes that get to do that. I was changed a little bit by that. I'm still on your side, David, but when I heard that argument, I went, wow, hadn't heard it explained that way before.
So maybe we'll have to think about how we're going to word our transfer portal poll question, and then we'll come up with another Christmas poll question as well. We'll do double duty for most of the rest of the year with our poll question.
We will, and we'll do double duty because we'll be working through the break. As Felipe, the good Catholic high school grad, pointed out, we have our Advent colors on, David. We are not ready for Easter. We are ready for Advent. We are in the season. We are the season. We are Miller and Moulton, and we thank you so much for listening to the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Fortunately, the bowl game's at noon Eastern. Okay, so I'll have to stay in the hotel. Fortunately, the hotel's 15 minutes from the stadium. Okay, and I literally don't have to be there until kickoff. Okay, so
Well, here's what we may do then. We could just do 6 to 9.
and let these guys just run the final hour of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We take care of all the affiliates. You know, in theory, if we're on in Lake City by then too.
Well, yeah, aren't we supposed to be on tomorrow? I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Well, I was assuming not, since we're having lunch with the guy today. But that is something that I really need to get across to Marty. You need to stop selling us. We need the fucking truth. I don't give a shit what you're telling everybody else. You tell us the 15th, it has to be the 15th. That's all. We need the truth. Don't sell us.
Look, I will tell you this much. He planned on it being the 15th. That I do. Well, we need to do a poll question. That's more important.
All right.
You think the transfer portal is
the
working?
Transfer portal in full swing. Do you like it? The only other thing would be, with the recent changes to college football, which do you like the most? And you list transfer portal, early signing period, NIL.
I'd rather stick to just the transfer portal.
Sounds good.
If we were on ESPNU doing a show,
Right.
I would love that question.
Okay, so that's that one.
Do you like it? Right?
Yes
With
or
the
no?
transfer portal
In
in
full
full
swing.
swing, comma, do you like it?
Yes or no?
Wait till you see when I retweet this later and I put, do I like it? Tuck coming, baby.
And then we need a Christmas one.
You're right.
Yeah, Klecko, I mean, if he's okay playing on inferior team. But yeah, he'll play with a coach he's got a relationship with. And
Arch, what are you saying, Arch? That's exactly what it is.
Well,
they gray shirt guys all the time, Arch.
I mean, Arch, do you mean that the kids should stay through May? Is that what you're saying? That they shouldn't leave after a semester? I mean,
the coaches leave, Arch. Come on now.
I mean, and also the season is the season. The season ends now.
Well, you're mad that the quarterback left Ohio State? Is that what you're mad about? I mean, I don't get it. He wasn't going to play, transferred. I
mean, if there are no games affected, does it matter, Arch, if he's leaving?
There is one team that has, there could be isn't there the problem with the two quarterbacks?
LSU.
Right.
Yeah, LSU. Now, I got to admit,
I didn't think bowl games counted as far as eligibility.
Yeah, I think now that obviously
now they do, but they didn't for the longest time, right?
I thought it was a proposal.
Yes, he was on scholarship the whole season. He was on scholarship from January 1 when, in fact, Arch, he was there for a year. He entered school in January. He was there for 1 full year. Arch, actually, is that what you want? Because he early enrolled. Come on, Arch. That's just stupid. I'm sorry. That's just a lazy, stupid argument because I want to be right. No, man. Come on.
I haven't heard much about Spencer Rattler except for the fact that he's a very unlikable teammate.
All right. We'll find out.
We'll see.
We need a Christmas question.
We have 25 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"20 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Bill Bender, an hour from now to talk the busy goings-on in the world of college football. Pat Kirwan, 2 hours from now to talk all things NFL. Bobby Belt will join us in our bonus hour to talk about the Cowboys.
We've got a poll question up. It's very simple.
All right.
With the transfer portal in full swing, do you like it? Love it wasn't an option, apparently.
And also, we're not going to allow you to go gray area. We're just giving you two.
Right.
Yay or nay. So you have to decide. If you're on the fence, well, pick which side you want to fall on. Sorry. We want decisive action. We want you to either stay or transfer.
That's it.
Right.
Right. You're either in the transfer portal or you're not in the transfer portal.
Not like this Tank Bigsby guy at Auburn who entered the transfer portal from like 8 to 11 hours and then decided to return to Auburn. What the hell is that? My goodness. We're working on a Christmas poll question.
I've got something here. Okay. I liked yours, but my only problem is, David, we're this Florida Sports Network, and David threw out, do you miss snow? But there are a lot of people who listen who may have never been around. Like Felipe doesn't miss it. He's a Floridian. We're the Florida Sports Network, after all.
So you mean people are actually from Florida?
So they say.
Wow.
I meet a couple, once every year or so I'll meet one.
Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Monday Night Football. The Rams go into Arizona and beat the Cardinals 30-23. It is interesting. The Cardinals are 7-0 on the road and 3-3 at home. We've been talking now.
And their crowd was in. I mean, that crowd was all in for Arizona. It wasn't like what it will be if they were to play Dallas at home, if you know what I mean.
And like it was when they played Green Bay.
Or when Buffalo played Tampa. That was an all Arizona crowd because they played a team that doesn't have a fan base.
30-23 Rams, who are now a game back of Arizona in the NFC West. The two have split the season series. Cards have the better division record as of now. Stafford with 3 touchdown passes. Kyler Murray accounted for 444 yards of offense, but he had 2 big interceptions. One when they had 2nd and goal, up 3-0, and then one when they were down 7. And he tried to loft the pass and didn't loft it enough, and it set up a Rams score, and basically L.A. cruised from there. Green Bay is now the 1 seed. Tampa's the 2. Arizona the 3, even though all 3 have the same record. Dallas the 4. The Rams the 5. Oh, by the way, there were 37 positive COVID tests yesterday in the National Football League. And the NFL sent a memo out saying, yeah, everybody needs to get a booster shot by December 27th, or else we're going to make life uncomfortable for you. So the NFL concerned about COVID between now and the Super Bowl. And speaking of the Super Bowl, Mark, what we have long suspected, Vegas is getting Super Bowl 58. The NFL had announced Super Bowl 56 this year in L.A., Super Bowl 57, Arizona, Super Bowl 59, New Orleans, and yet for some reason waited 2 years to state the obvious, that Las Vegas is getting a Super Bowl.
I love it.
Oh.
I can't wait to do Radio Row from that one.
Man, a lot of stations not doing Radio Row anymore because of cost and all that.
Yeah, we're going to Vegas. I don't care. I don't care if we have to pay for it ourselves, David. Sponsorships are available now. Talk to Miller and Moulton.
Miller and Moulton have no idea if they're going to be doing a radio show come the Super Bowl 58, but we are going to be there anyway.
You're damn right.
Jags owner Mr. Khan said, quote, I won't make any hasty decision, unquote, on Urban Meyer. I think the fact that he's even talking about having to make a decision is not good news for Urban Meyer.
It never is when they're asking about your job while you currently have it.
If you were Mr. Khan, he's got Houston and the Jets the next 2 weeks. Are you going to base his future on the outcome of those games?
No.
So it wouldn't matter to you if they win.
I think I've already made my decision.
Well, if so, then why don't you get rid of them now?
I would have. I would have, David. But I do think you're dealing with tremendous egos here. A rich guy who has to then admit, I went and hired the hired gun. Everybody said I was right. I was wrong. They don't like to be wrong.
Well, he's on the team 10 years. He's had 1 winning season.
He's been wrong a lot.
Right. So what's one more? It's like getting a franchise quarterback. You only have to be right once, you know. Bills quarterback Josh Allen, it's too early for an injury report, but based on what head coach McDermott was saying yesterday, quote, he has a chance, unquote, to play Sunday against Carolina. That sounds doubtful to me. Josh Allen left the game against the Bucs afterwards, seen in a walking boot. Tyron Smith will be out for the Cowboys against the Giants this week. The Ravens say they are, quote, planning on Lamar Jackson playing Sunday against Green Bay. He left the Browns game in the second quarter with an ankle injury. Number 2 is college football. The bowl games, by the way, start Friday. National Letter of Intent Day, early signing period, is tomorrow. But boy, the transfer portal is wide open. Spencer Rattler, the preseason favorite to win the Heisman, before he got benched at Oklahoma, he's transferring to South Carolina. Meanwhile, USC quarterback...
already the best quarterback in the East.
USC quarterback Keaton Slovis is transferring. He has 2 years of eligibility remaining. And A&M quarterback Zach Calzada, who led the upset against Alabama, he's transferring because, remember, he was the backup. And the starter got injured. He's coming back. And they got a 5-star kid coming in.
By the way, I did see yesterday a Clemson transfer to USF. Now, I'm guessing he's not, wasn't playing and all that, but it just needs to be noted. This is another depth player at Clemson that's left. And that's the only reason I bring it up, David.
Remember the relationship, though. USF head coach was offense coordinator at Clemson. My guess is Dabo kind of helped lead him there.
Right. Well, he was a D-back one. So, but again, yeah, possibly. But who are they getting in the transfer portal to replace him?
Well,
that's all I'm talking about,
there's
David.
no doubt about it.
I'm, again, guy wasn't going to play. I get it. But how many players can you keep losing if you can't lose 20 players a year if you're Clemson when you're only bringing in, you get a graduating class, you're losing 20 to the portal, and you're only bringing in 25 kids.
Clemson yet to participate in the transfer portal. We thought Dabo would start to do that. So far, he has not. Georgia defense coordinator Dan Lanning officially introduced yesterday as head coach at Oregon. He will stay with Georgia through the playoffs. Lanning is 35 years of age. It's his first college head coaching job. Florida lost a quarterback commit yesterday, Nick Evers, who was considered a, quote, 4-star, but he was considered one of the 10 best. Now they categorize the quarterbacks. It's not just quarterbacks. It's, drop back quarterbacks. And Evers was considered one of the 10 best and top 200 recruits in the country. He was long committed to Florida. He instead went to Oklahoma yesterday. Number 3 is college hoops. As we told you yesterday morning, expect Baylor to be ranked number 1. And in fact, they were. They're the 4th number 1 in the last 4 weeks. They're one of 7 unbeatens left in the sport. Florida, with their 2 losses, dropped out of the top 25. One in-state game yesterday. Stetson won by 46 over Johnson, Florida. I've never heard of that school, and I've broadcast a lot of Florida college games. Mark, you talked about this. I don't know if you did it on the air yesterday. I know we talked about it off air, but there was a game Saturday involving Illinois State and Chicago State.
Right. This was off air. We talked about it.
Illinois State won. The final score was announced as 80-71. The point spread on the game was either 9.5 or 10, depending on where and when you placed your bet. The game did not get a ton of activity. Well, they made a scoring error in the game. A free throw was made that was never counted. So the final should have been 81-71. Obviously, that's the difference between if you're getting 9.5, you would lose. Okay, if you're giving 9.5, you would win. Caesars and PointsBet both came out yesterday, Mark, and said they will pay both sides of the bet. So both Caesars and PointsBet agreed yesterday to basically not make a dime on that game. They said it was a game that didn't get a lot of action. Everybody acknowledges that there was a scoring error made, but it is still, as of yesterday, on everybody's websites listed as the final score of 80-71. I don't think it's officially been changed yet. And I have now, this rarely happens, by the way. It happens during the game, and it is often corrected during the next media timeout, at halftime, things like that. But it does not happen very often that the final score is wrong.
No, and it was a late free throw in the game.
Right. 49 seconds left was the free throw.
Bizarre, because I watched the film in which he made it and the score never got put up. It just a weird thing. Good to see that. And this is one of those things that I'm really happy to see that the betting companies are doing that, because we've got to have the integrity thing taken care of. You can't not pay them. You just can't.
Well, I mean, they basically admitted that, listen, it's a game that didn't have a ton of activity to seem honorable. And, we'll pay this one. But when somebody said, hey, if it was a game with a decent amount of money bet on it, they all wouldn't answer that question. Number 4, NBA and NHL combined. Heat lost to Cleveland 105-94. Cavs have won 4 in a row. Cavs have a better record than the Heat. and that's with Mobley there missing time. Kevin Love, remember him? He had 23 points for the Cavs last night. Warriors edged Indiana 102-100, while Phoenix lost to the Clippers. That means Golden State has the best record in the NBA by a half a game. Curry with 26 last night. He's 2-3 shy of the all-time record. He'll get that tonight at Madison Square Garden. The Bulls' next 2 games have been postponed because of a COVID outbreak. Zion suffered another setback with his right foot.
And went right to the restaurant and ordered a double jambalaya.
And
he's gigantic.
Yes, he is. And Calgary has a COVID problem in the NHL. They had their next 3 games postponed, including last night's game in Chicago. And finally, number 5, an historic settlement yesterday for USA Gymnastics and the victims of Larry Nassar. $380 million to the victims. Have no idea how much of that will be spread out, what the lawyers get and all that. But the settlement was $380 million. And that, Mark, was...
That was the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
USF women, by the way, ranked 16th in the country. UConn women are 7th. It's their lowest ranking in 14 years. A couple tidbits there.
Look at you.
Yeah.
I've got our Christmas poll question, I think. I think. Just very simple. Better Christmas song. I put 4 down. The Christmas song, Jingle Bells, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, White Christmas.
Okay.
I'll give it a couple seconds here at the break to let the Twitch Mafia and you and Felipe make sure you're cool with the 4 songs that are on there.
Right. And people won't be. There'll
Of
be a
course
lot
not.
of suggestions. Little Drummer Boy, all that. It'll start coming in. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Visit gpstpete.com now to secure the best seats.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Jimmy, I did the book for one college game. FGC was shorthanded. I wasn't working. And they said, hey, can you fill in and do the book? And I figured it'd be easy, right? I mean, I do the book while doing play-by-play. It's funny how it's a lot of pressure. You miss who was that foul on? You got to make sure you get the free throws. I mean, I saw and felt how a mistake could be made, but you knew the free throw was made. You maybe weren't paying attention and saw who did it, but then you look at the free throw line and go, oh, it's number 16.
Probably just zoned out.
No doubt. 49 seconds to go.
He checked off miss instead of make. He
Yeah.
made a mistake. It's someone either not getting paid or making $25 a game. I mean,
Right. Oh yeah. In fact, I think that's what I got paid. I think it was like $25.
right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's. And Chris, I'm totally with you. I get you. But 25 characters a line, I literally only had enough room to put S.C. is coming to town. Because, yes, the Christmas song is Nat King Cole. Jingle Bells would be various artists. Santa Claus is coming to town would be Bruce. And White Christmas would be Bing effing Crosby, okay?
How tempted were you to go Little Drummer Boy with Bing and
I had Little Drummer Boy up, and then I took it down. And I don't know why I did. I went for Jingle Bell for the kids, David, for the kids. You know me. It's always about the kids.
Yep. Always. Always has been.
David, I don't know if you saw my tweet last night, but I
Yeah,
awarded.
I got to admit, I saw it and was thinking, I have no idea what that guy is talking about.
Kevin Love.
No. I thought it was the tweet about the guy who said something about you retweeted somebody who said that we talked about a consultant one time saying we needed to talk more Heat.
It's actually could not be more untrue. What the consultant told us was we talked too much hockey, not Heat, hockey. It's the only time we've ever had a consultant say anything, and it's when some ESPN wackadoodle was in this building, and we said the show was great. We should never talk hockey at 5:00, and we're the number 4 NHL market in the country that doesn't have number 2 NHL market that doesn't have a pro team. He doesn't know. Quite frankly, he doesn't know our audience.
Yeah, there are a lot of Northerners here.
We're the number 2 hockey market in the country that doesn't have an NHL team.
And the one in front of us is Milwaukee.
Right. And sometimes 3 because of Providence, Rhode Island.
Right.
Which is basically South Boston.
Right. But no one has ever told you should talk more Heat.
Never.
No.
In fact,
No.
when we were separate. When we were separate, true story, David and I'm doing mornings, David's doing afternoons. In the Heat are in the playoffs, and I ended up doing 90 minutes in the morning, getting calls on the Heat. David's doing sales. He comes in, he walks in the little studio on the end is where we worked. He walked in, he goes, how in the did you do Heat for 90 minutes? How?
Stunned.
I go, David, I don't know. I started talking. I started getting calls. I didn't expect it.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. Now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network, 11 days away from the big day. Make your plans accordingly. All right. Stuff not necessarily around like it's been in the past. Delivery taking a little longer, potentially. I'm just saying.
Don't. I know, and David, it's a really wise public service announcement.
I'm just trying to help.
But
that's all.
I have ordered some things not from Amazon. See, if I order from Amazon, I don't worry because you just look at your phone. They're going to tell you the minute it's going to be there tomorrow at 3:14 p.m.
Well, and
the rest of the companies don't have a clue.
Well, yeah. Plus, I mean, Amazon, hell, they'll deliver by drone if they have to. I mean, so yeah, you feel good.
Oh, I mean, I've had one of those trucks pull up on my lawn. The guy comes out, man, I'm 14 seconds late. I'm sorry.
Was he delivering pizzas? He's got a 30-minute guarantee. My goodness. But that's all, just a little public service there. Bill Bender, in a little more than 30 minutes, we'll talk these wild and crazy times in college football. And is it good for the sport? Or does the sport need to go, okay, we need to pull this back a little bit. We need to pull the reins in. I don't know how, but we'll talk to Bill Bender in about 30 minutes for that. Our poll questions, they are up, right?
They are.
You were kind of defiant about the Christmas song poll question.
You know, that's really the wrong word for it.
It is.
It was lazy. It said I'd done the question, and then I kind of changed a couple things around. I'm like, I don't need to go through a whole break of listening to everybody tell me 14 different songs. I'm just going to hit send. So our first one is with the transfer portal in full swing. Do you like it? Early voting, yeses, outnumbering the ones by about a 2-1 margin. And then better Christmas song. And I put 4 up there. The Christmas song, Jingle Bells, Santa Claus Coming to Town, and White Christmas. I had people say, well, you got to put which the artist is. I don't have enough characters to do that.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And, obviously people are like, oh, so we need Silent Night. We need Little Drummer Boy. We need this. We need that.
Doesn't mean I can't do 4 more songs tomorrow, 4 songs the next day, and 4 the following, and then have the championship playoff. Could be a little pseudo bracket in and of itself. Everybody loves a bracket, David.
We really do, Mark. We really do. It's the right country for brackets.
It is, except for mid-season NBA playoffs.
Wait.
What was it? Or the preseason, like last year he was trying to have that, the different,
the play-in.
Yeah.
They're still going to do it.
We don't like it, though.
Well, it's early. Have we determined yet whether we like it or not? I mean,
here's a question.
It once.
Here's a question. Middle of the week. Do we really like the wild card in baseball? It's been going on for almost 20 years now, right? How long have we had the wild card?
We've had the wild card since the mid-90s. It was supposed to, I believe, be in the 94 season, which, of course, the playoffs got wiped out. So it ended up being in 95 was the first time we had the wild card.
And not for a poll question, but if you want to join us here in the Twitch chat room, or if you want to text the show, which you can do, if you have not texted the show, you simply text FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio, to 21,000. Once you do that, you're in. You'll save it, and you can even put it, FSN Radio right up there. Text whenever you feel like it. But for you baseball diehards, I should have done this last hour in the baseball hour. Yeah. Do you like the wild card?
Mark, here's my conclusion. Years of sitting in this chair. Fans like more play. If given the choice between more playoff teams or less playoff teams, they will take more playoff teams. Now, they may want to limit. They may say the NBA and NHL have a few too many. But, I think the NFL can't go further than this, to be honest. I don't think the NFL fan would like half the league getting in and no first-round bye. I don't think the NFL can go beyond the 14. But, I think most baseball fans would actually be okay with a slight expansion of the baseball playoffs. Not to the size of NBA and NHL, where half the league gets in. But I think they would be okay with 5 becoming 6. And I understand it's awkward in baseball, the whole bye and 3 playing 6 and 4 playing 5, and you'd have to make it a best of 3, and they'd have to play on 3 straight days because you can't have the 1 and 2 seeds have too long of a layoff. Listen, we've seen it both ways, by the way. Teams with a layoff in the playoffs where they sweep their series and the other series goes 7, and sometimes those teams with the layoff kind of lose their mojo, and sometimes those teams with the layoff rest up, line their pitching up, and destroy their next opponent. So we've got evidence on both sides.
But, the college football playoff is going to be increased here at some point.
And I think most fans are in support of it.
I think they are, but I hear more people say 12's too many than I'm fired up about 12.
And that's, once again, I think they want more than 4. Maybe 12's too much.
To most everybody, 12, at least, and even what we've got on this show, we've had a lot of people, right after the final rankings were out, just assumed that 5 through 12 would be how it were listed if there were a 12-team playoff. It cracks me up every time that people look at that 5 through 12 and think that that actually matters.
You mean in the polls?
Yeah.
Right.
In that playoff poll? Like,
Right.
I think it's hysterical. 5 matters. They put 5 there for a reason. Everything else after that, I don't think they care a whole hell of a lot about. But as we talked about, the intention was to have division and conference champions get home field and that first game and things like that. So I've heard from enough people that don't like 12 at all. That's what's crazy about, because I think your initial statement's right, David, that people generally want more playoff teams. I don't think anybody's complaining about one more wild card team in the NFL.
So I think for the most part, fans want more. They just don't want it to be too many. You and I have contended for a long time. Gary Danielson was the person on this show 10 years ago in which, when the number was 2 at the time, and he said, I think the number needs to be 6. And we were like, really? Because we were either at 4 or 8 is what we were thinking. And he said 6, and he made his case. And the more it's played out, we went from 2 to 4, and we watched how it played out. The more that we actually came around to, I think we agree with him.
And it was twofold, because Gary has always been a big conference champion person.
Right.
His was 5 conference champions, and he had no problem putting the caveat so that the year that Kansas State wins their side and goes 7 or 8-4 or something like that and sneaks in, they may not get into the playoff. I don't think he ever had a problem with that. Although I think in his world, they would have gone to the playoff.
Yeah. I mean,
winning a conference is winning a conference, no matter how you do it.
But he understands that some people, if they're, and we very rarely have had the huge upset in the conference championship game. I mean, very rarely we've had like the 20th ranked team in the country take down number 3.
Not, and particularly since we've gone to the 14 playoff. It happened when we were doing 2 in the BCS world. It happened. Was it Nebraska or Oklahoma?
Well, early 2000s. Yeah. First,
K-State,
the one that no one talks about. It's the only time that it affected the SEC and whether or not they would get a team in the playoff. Everybody forgets Nick's second LSU team upset Tennessee in the SEC championship game in 2001. Remember, the Florida-Tennessee game got postponed because of the attacks of September 11th. It actually got played. They had to move everything back a week.
Right.
Spurrier's last game in the Swamp was a loss to Tennessee, which sent the Vols to Atlanta. And they were ranked 2 or 3 in the country. And if they had won, they would have played that great Miami team in the Rose Bowl for the national championship. And LSU upset them. And then it came down to the BCS spitting out either Nebraska, Colorado, or Oregon, and they spit out Nebraska, and everybody thought that was a joke. And then 2 years later, Kansas State, you mentioned Oklahoma. Oklahoma's number 1, and K-State beats them by 4 touchdowns in the Big 12 title game, and the computer still spit Oklahoma out.
That's why we've laughed that it's been 20 years of whether it's the computer or the committee having a love affair with the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 got more benefits of more doubts with that computer than any conference, David.
And in the late 90s, Bill Snyder was like a quarter away from getting Kansas State to play for the national championship. And Texas A&M, I believe, beat them in the Big 12 title game and knocked them out. But, I mean, that's about 20 years ago, in which you had like the 3-4 loss team from their side take out the team that was going to play for something, prominent. We really have not had the huge upset where you'd go, oh man, are we really going to put that 3-4 loss team that's ranked like 14th? Are we really going to put them in? That's my thought anyway. I understand not everybody. Some people want it to be more exclusive. There are college football fans, particularly that we've heard some of the national talking heads this year, especially that say, I think we were better with 2.
If there was ever a year that proved that 2 is not enough, this is the year.
Well, listen.
I mean, unless Cincinnati is going to play somebody for the national title, David.
Well, this is, for those that would have, or maybe still even want to, hey, the computer valued the donut more than it did anything else.
Right. So Cincinnati
might have been one of the 2 this year, Mark.
Well, the rankings also mattered, and no one would have had them 1 because the way that,
right,
the rankings mattered. So where they're at, I don't know if they would have got the 1 seed. I actually think it probably would have been Michigan, Cincinnati for a natty. I don't know if anybody's done a BCS thing with this and
spit it all in.
Right.
And you're right, because Cincinnati was technically, we only do 1 poll now, and they were 4. But remember, when Nebraska got in the title game against Miami 20 years ago, Nebraska was a consensus number 4 in the polls. And yet the computers still spit them out as the number 2 team, and they get to play the Canes. I mean, so for those that preferred the BCS to what we have now, I actually think Cincinnati would have got in the title game.
Actually, no, they wouldn't have. It'd have been Alabama and Michigan. If I had to do a little digging. But the same 4 teams would have been in. Alabama would have been the 1. According to BCS Know-How, it's a website, Twitter poll, whatever, but they did simulating BCS standings after championship weekend. Alabama was spit out as number 1, Michigan number 2, Georgia number 3, Cincinnati number 4. And it was a canyon between Cincinnati and Notre Dame. They were all of Alabama was 0.9846. Who cares about the 4.6? But they were 0.98. Michigan was 0.94. Georgia was 0.91. Cincinnati was 0.90. And the same difference between Alabama and Cincinnati was the difference between Cincinnati and Notre Dame.
Miller and Moulton. Bill Bender, roughly 20 minutes from now. Pat Kirwan in our 8 o'clock hour. Bobby Belt to talk some Cowboys in our 9 o'clock hour. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Is this commenting about the Cavs heat?
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's the highest honor can be given to an opposition of the Miami Heat. Certified Heat Killer label.
Who's that?
What's he talking about again?
The Heat Killers.
He just brings
Who?
up Who are you talking
You're
about?
having
Kevin-
a conversation
Kevin Love.
in your head.
Kevin,
Oh.
I tweeted about it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay, well I don't,
we're
I'm talking to
unaware.
myself. I'm talking.
Okay.
To
Okay.
Well, then don't talk into the mic.
Terrence Ross is another one.
I don't even know who that is.
You know who Terrence Ross is?
No.
Headband.
Headband. Well.
Oh, that narrows it down.
Headband, arm sleeves in the league.
Oh,
for
now I
12
got it.
years.
Yeah, him.
Won a dunk contest.
I just take my headsets off at some point.
Yeah, Chris Landry. Tonight's version of Matthew Stafford in the playoffs would be interesting. Yes, it would.
It really would. I want to see it. Very confused.
We need a segment here. Got anything?
We'll talk Vegas Super Bowl and say who need,
Oh, yeah.
just where should go. Who does, is there a city left that deserves one?
Who has a wider fan base, the Jaguars or the Chargers?
Wow. Jacksonville.
Hmm.
One minute.
I think I told you this, but I don't know if you're aware my life is officially over.
Oh, I didn't realize that. No.
Yeah. Maddie, in her first meet in gymnastics, got a first, a second, and a sixth. I'm done.
No, she can grow out of it, though. Seriously. She may just decide. I mean,
30
they
seconds.
literally decide one day, you know what?
No, I
don't
know.
want to do this anymore.
I don't know if she could do what those girls are doing at a young age. Like, I don't know if Maddie's built for 4 hours a day,
Right.
6 days a week at age 9.
Yeah. Well, which I think is absurd.
15.
I wouldn't probably let her do that. Like, I would probably make a stand and say, can we do 3 days a week? And she can do, because if she's like,
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Little college football talk 15 minutes from now. Pat Kirwan next hour. Bobby Belt. Talk a little Cowboys in our 9 o'clock hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. You can watch the show 6 to 10 a.m. weekdays on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. While you're there, subscribe. Many different ways to be a part of the show on Twitch. Feel free. We'd appreciate it. You can always text the show. One word, FSN Radio. FSN Radio to 21,000. And if you've never texted before, that'll get you in through the text security gate, so to speak. And you can chime in on anything that you would like. Rams beat the Cardinals last night, in case you missed it, 30-23. Matthew Stafford looked good. 3 touchdown passes. The shorthanded Rams with a must-win. They're going to contend in the NFC West. It knocks Arizona from the 1 to the 3. Green Bay the 1, Tampa the 2 in the NFC. Tampa with the most favorable schedule of the contenders the rest of the way. So if you're a Bucs fan, win out, 1 Green Bay loss, and the road to the Super Bowl goes through Tampa Bay.
Boy, I hope so.
You and me both.
Boy, I hope so.
I want a home game.
I know you do. You have, from a personal standpoint, as great as your other jobs are, because this one is what it is, but your other jobs are pretty cool. But the NFL one, for Tampa winning the Super Bowl, you've taken one on the chin. For a guy that lives in Fort Myers and the local team wins the Super Bowl, there should have been 4 car rides for you this year.
The executive producer of the NFL, of the Joe Buck, Troy Aikman broadcast, is Richie Zients, who goes all the way back to the early CBS days of John Madden. They're actually very tight, very good friends. Madden introduced Richie to his wife and was in his wedding. They are tight. Richie is one of the 5 key people behind this Madden documentary that's going to air on Christmas Day on Fox. And I said to Richie, in all the years that you've been involved, being, with the A team, so to speak, whether it's CBS or here at Fox, have you ever not done a home game of the NFC team that won the Super Bowl the following year? And he laughed. He said, no, most years we do minimum 2, probably 3.
Right.
And Buck and Aikman will not appear at Ray J before the playoffs if Green Bay's the one, they may keep going back and forth to Lambeau.
Well, and look, I know fortunately, it's Brady, because if the Cowboys were doing anything, and not because of Aikman, but the Cowboys are such a big draw on television that Fox would lean to put the Cowboy in the best window possible because it always gets such a great number.
Well, the ratings for the NFC playoffs could just be monstrous if you think about it, between Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Dallas. And
Can I
Dallas,
ask you,
especially if Dallas can win the 4-5 game?
But what if somehow the Rams got to win the division, or because if it's a 4-5, you have to have Dallas winning. If the Rams won the first game, is there anything there? Are they getting any juice on that coast? Would they get any if they won a playoff game, if you know what I mean?
The evidence is not yet there. No. Now, I will say there has been a home field advantage for the Rams this year, which has not existed previously. People who have attended, and we did the one game at SoFi when they hosted the Bucs, and it was loud.
Right.
And they were all Rams fans.
And think about it. If the Rams if they host a playoff game, it means they won the division.
Right.
So if that being said, they're going to be playing an Aaron Rodgers, a Dallas Cowboys, or a Tom Brady, if you know what I mean. So the standpoint of who would ever come there, however it worked out, if they got a game, the star power would be there and would add to that. So just curious if there's it, because it,
but nationally,
to your point, it looked like it in that Tampa game.
Right. But nationally, from a ratings standpoint, it has not made a difference yet.
And it'll be interesting to see when we get the Monday night ratings from this game. No Manning cast last night. 2 good teams, pretty good game.
But obviously both out in the same time zone.
Right. And 2 guys, a quarterback, Kyler Murray, that you and I think we should be paying more attention to as a national football audience.
Right. But he is not Lamar.
No.
Like Lamar moves the needle. Kyler is yet to move the needle. Will be interesting coming up here. He got a Monday night game last night. It looks like January 2nd, Arizona-Dallas is going to be the 425 game. Now, Dallas is going to bring the number by itself, but it's going to be a lot of eyeballs on Kyler Murray who don't normally watch him. It will be interesting to me going forward, whether or not Kyler is going to become a move the needle quarterback on his own, because there's really only about 6 of them. I mean, the game can be billed like the NBA bills it with their stars, but there's really only 6 quarterbacks tops that move the needle.
So I'm just curious, because your good point that you make with Dallas and Arizona, that will get a lot of eyeballs on Kyler Murray pre-playoff. He does something special in that game, puts a lot of juice at him going towards the postseason.
I mentioned Super Bowl before. The news that came out late yesterday, Super Bowl 58, which is 2 Super Bowls from now. This year's Super Bowl is 56. It's in Los Angeles. 57 is in Arizona. 59 is in New Orleans. They decided yesterday to make official what people inside the NFL have thought was going to be the case for at least 2 years. Vegas, baby. Vegas. Super Bowl 58. 2 years and 2 months from now. Vegas. How many years ago was it? 6, 7? Romo wanted to have a fantasy football thing in Vegas, and they damn near threatened to throw him out of the league.
Correct. Basically a fantasy football symposium, and there was a couple other players, but he was the one that drew.
He was the headliner.
He was the headliner, and he had to step down from the event or fear suspension from the league.
I think it was like 2014. And here we are. First off, it took barely 5 years later. They got a franchise. And now here we are. I mean, we've had plenty of Pac-12 championships, Mark, football and basketball, which I think was a smart decision this year to move the football to Vegas. They've had the basketball there for a while. The game did really well from a crowd standpoint. Oregon, Utah, the place was packed.
It's 2015. I'm looking at a tweet from Tony Romo that says the NFL has canceled our fantasy football convention this year in Vegas, and that is disappointing. I'm sad for the fans and players.
6 years ago,
there was going to be 100 NFL players there. Tony Romo was the headliner.
So 6 years ago,
Des Bryant. It is amazing at how they handle this. Des, went to Twitter with a bunch of not sufficient for work type tweets. Says, I don't understand. They make a blank load of money off us. Shake my head.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Now it has a franchise. And now I will say since then, they got a hockey team. They got an NFL team.
And now gambling's legal nationwide.
There you go. And all the teams have their official casinos and DraftKings partners and all that.
Except for here in Florida, because, we decided to jam it in illegally.
Right. But
Told you. Don't like being right on this one. For whatever, we did not want to be right here.
No. We really wanted to be wrong. We wanted our legal expert to be wrong. Unfortunately, Daniel Wallach was right. Damn. But a Vegas Super Bowl, baby. Now, remember, they had an all-star game in Vegas like a handful of years ago, and it was the U.S. hockey team at the Japan Olympics when we just trashed the place.
Right.
That's apparently how the NBA all-star game left a few of the hotels when they had it a handful of years ago, and I think it was then David Stern and now obviously a different commissioner, and they're like, yeah, I don't think we can go back to Vegas. So there was a little bit of hesitancy from the NFL, but they're all in. All in.
Well, here's the difference. The NFL players aren't going to trash hotel rooms the week of the Super Bowl. They're there to play in a game. Now, what happened Sunday night, that's a whole different story. But you know what I mean. The All-Star Game's a big party. Day of, day before, 2 days before, they don't care. The game is secondary. So I don't think you'd have a lot of those things. David, I've been to Vegas for a Super Bowl when the Super Bowl's not there. Vegas is a pretty good town for a Super Bowl without the game.
Right.
I don't know if you're aware, there's a pretty famous author who wrote a book about fear and loathing in Las Vegas.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because he did one about the campaign, another one was about going there for the Super Bowl.
Elizabeth Shue, right? Or was that the other one?
Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. It's the guy I was speaking of the book.
No. You said the movie Fear and Loathing in Vegas.
Well, no, I was referring to the book.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
actually one of the few times in life, David, when it comes to that, I'm referring to the book.
I thought, because wasn't that the Nicolas Cage, Elizabeth Shue?
No.
Or am I thinking of a
No,
different
Johnny Depp was in the Fear.
Gotcha.
I think Johnny Depp did one, and I actually think
Gotcha.
I think Bill Murray did one. That they both have done a different
Okay.
exploit of Hunter S. Thompson.
I know between the Twitch chat room and the text line, people let me know what
Isn't
movie.
that Leaving Las Vegas?
There is something like that. So, all right. Bill Bender on the other side. You know, speaking of Vegas Benders, we go to Bill Bender. Sporting news next. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That's 72? Did not know Summer Breeze by Seals and Crofts was 1972. And you know what else I didn't realize about Seals and Crofts? That fun little fact for you, David, that there were 2 Seals and 2 Crofts. Like they were brothers. I happen to just have the song on with Apple Music, it tells you who wrote the songs. And it was like Dan and Davy Seals. The best part was I think the Crofts were brothers because it was Jimmy and James Croft. Or I mean cousins. They like you know what I mean? It's like couldn't have been brothers. They're both named Jim, for Christ's sake. Unless the parents were just really boring. No, it is just 2. And they put all 4 names in there. That's funny. That's why I got so confused. I thought it was just 2 people. But they listed dual names for their writing. That's pretty funny.
God, I hope Kevin Harlan is commentating tonight's Warriors game.
Well, I would think they would get the A team.
I mean, he is the A team.
Well, they kind of have co-A teams.
It used to be,
but I agree with you. I think he's the A team, but they have like a really close B team.
Because the co-A teams used to be Harlan and
right. Harlan
Marv.
Was like 1A to Marv Albert's 1.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Now that 1A is Brian Anderson. And then B would be like Ian Eagle.
Both really nice guys, by the way. Ian Eagle, very short.
He's got a pretty cool job, I'll tell you that.
Let's see. He does the Nets, does the NBA, does college hoops with
NFL.
CBS. Number 2 NFL with CBS.
Bill is on hold.
Good guy.
I like Bill.
Good
He does-
writer. Produces a lot of content.
College football.
Yeah, college sports, but yeah. He wrote something interesting a couple of weeks ago. He wrote about LeBron James' last football game. His
Oh,
junior year of high school. They lost in the state semis. It's a funny little story.
I should read that.
Yeah, you'd like it. He's got it on his, if you go to his Twitter,
Mhm.
he's got it, it doesn't take too long to find it.
Big old bet. Bird up.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network, Tampa, St. Pete, Fort Myers, Naples, any day now in Lake City, and hoping the same in Port Charlotte and Sarasota. Pat Kirwan next hour to talk all things NFL. Bill Bender's kind enough to join us once again. He is the guy you turn to at the Sporting News for all things college sports, sportingnews.com. You can follow Bill on Twitter at BillBender92. BillBender92. Bill, it's David and Mark once again. Thanks for your time. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Well, we're curious as a guy who makes his living covering college sports and especially football. With everything that is going on right now, your gut feeling, is this good? Is this good for the sport between NIL, between, the transfer portal? I mean, it's great for us two yahoos. Is it good for the sport?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, I think it's good for the student athlete because you have opportunities. You're able to go and transfer and do the things that you can make money off your likeness. There's nothing wrong with that. The sport, I'm not sure. I mean, with all the coming and going, it makes it hard for coaches to manage their roster. I mean, I think I read something that there was 30-some kids that went in the transfer portal yesterday alone. It makes college football feel more like the NFL. And for those who like the differences, that's, it's just the way it is. So I think there's some positives and negatives to it. And it's hard to say what college football will look like in 5 years.
And Bill, I'm one of those guys that love it because the coaches have been doing this for the longest time, and they're the ones getting paid. So to me, for the kids to have the same rights finally as the coaches, good for them. And as you started it, it is good for the student athlete. And we're always been told that was the most important part of this equation.
Well, but on the flip side, I mean, now you have kids reclassifying. You have a guy like Quinn Ewers who hasn't taken a snap, who's made all this NIL money, and now he's already transferred to Texas. I mean, there are some, and good for him. But I mean, is that good? Is something like that good for the sport? I don't know. But maybe he comes in at Texas next year and sets the world on fire, and that would legitimize some of that.
What'd you think of Dan Lanning at Oregon? I mean, we've had an amazing coaching carousel here in the last 2 weeks, but what'd you think of Oregon going Dan Lanning?
Well, I mean, good for him. And Oregon obviously trying to tap into some of those things that Georgia's doing and keep their recruiting going. And I think hiring a coach that will be a steady coach. Obviously not a lot of experience as a head coach, but when you have 28 coaching changes in this cycle, and there may be a couple more, I had thought that we'd get close to 30. People like Dan Lanning are going to get these opportunities, and that's a good thing.
I've said it. I kind of laugh because very rarely is a school that I went to at the forefront of college football, but between the transfer portal and Tucker getting $75 million, $100 million to coach, Michigan State made a lot of headway this year. What do you have more of a problem with? The outrageous money the coaches are getting paid for really no track record, or the transfer portal?
Probably, it can go either way. There's a lot of coaches making a ton of money, and I don't know. The market will reset, I hope, because at some point, whether you're making that much money as a coach or you're having all these players coming and going, you're hoping that the market corrects itself a little bit. One instance is obviously Jim Harbaugh took a pay cut, and it worked. He revamped his staff. He changed the way he was doing things. He got back to the success that he had at Stanford and with 49ers, and it worked. So maybe that'll become a trend too.
Well, Bill, I wanted to go there. The significance, you believe, of what Jim Harbaugh in Michigan has done this year, and really in the last 4+ weeks. I mean, you can go back to when they're trailing by 3 or 4 points at Penn State with 6 minutes to go. I think it was in early November, and really what they've done here since. You live in Ohio, you live in Big Ten country. The significance, you believe, of Michigan returning to this level.
Well, I think it's good for the Big Ten that somebody other than Ohio State wins it. It's good for that rivalry because OSU is going to be very angry when they play them next year. And it's good for Jim Harbaugh. I mean, one of the coaches that he's good for college football. He's not a guy that I, quite frankly, want to see go back to the NFL. And this last month, they've been as good as anybody. They've, like you said, since the Penn State game, they've found another gear, one that they haven't been able to find in about 15 years, and they're going to take that into the college football playoff. I think, with the exception of about a quarter and a half at East Lansing, they've been dominant for most of the season.
It'll be interesting because they lose a lot of players and to see if they can sustain it. And it doesn't mean they have to go beat Ohio State next year, but they have to not go back to what they were 2 years ago, and they'll be just fine. But the other side of this, and it's one of the things we were, I don't want to say pounding the table, Bill. I think David may have been a little bit more than I was. But with Dan Mullen, we thought that Florida could have gone the route that Notre Dame went with Brian Kelly when he had a bad year, that they went with Jim Harbaugh. But instead, it wasn't a pay cut and a little bit of an extension to take care of the recruiting side of it. They blew him out. So for all of the good that Harbaugh created, it didn't do enough for the athletic directors and big-time boosters around the country to keep coaches that were in similar spots that Jim was a year ago. Right,
and that's the surprising part. I mean, Dan Mullen, 3 straight New Year's Day Six Bowls, and then they have one bad year, and then he's gone. There's a couple others like that. I mean, and then on the flip, I guess Scott Frost stays around. It depends on the job and the expectations. I know that the expectations at Nebraska are always going to be ridiculous because they've had a lot of success in my lifetime. So he's going to face that. Billy Napier, I think, will get a little bit of a leash in terms of how much time he has. But to me, the timetable for a Billy Napier is, can you get Florida up and running faster than maybe Cristobal can at Miami or Norvell can at Florida State? There's no way that all 3 of those programs should be down.
I agree with you there. Bill Bender, Sporting News, covering college sports nationally. You can follow him on Twitter at BillBender92, BillBender92. Your thoughts cited to promote from within, Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, and obviously the players love him, and that's a start. The way that went down, I think the big thing is they kept most of the staff. There's going to be some continuity. And yes, there's a risk in taking a 35-year-old coach. But like he said a couple weeks ago, this idea that he's a player's coach, well, that means he has to hold them accountable on and off the field. I think he understands some issues that the younger players face being a 35-year-old. And he'll generate a lot of enthusiasm. They are one of the teams with all these 44 bowl games coming up. Very interested to see how they come out against Oklahoma State in their bowl game. I think it's going to be a chance for them to really build a lot of excitement, knowing they've never won a BCS bowl. They've never won a New Year's Day 6 bowl.
The playoff lines surprise you at all? Michigan being the underdog that they were, stunned the two of us. What did you see when you saw the early lines?
I mean, maybe that Georgia line's a little high. I thought it'd be about 5.5 or 6. I think it's up to 7.5. I don't know if it went up or down. And then Alabama, that's about right. I mean, they've won their last 5 semifinals by an average of 20.2 points per game. So for them to just keep rolling, I wouldn't be surprised. It's one of those things that very, very cool to see. And you know, if we get a Georgia-Alabama championship game, then I won't be surprised. But to your point, I mean, I get what you're saying, because Michigan could come out and make that very interesting the way they're playing. It's just one I've been telling people for 2 weeks. You can break down Michigan, Georgia all you want, but I need to see it. You kind of need to see it on the field to see how that O-line, can they push Georgia around? Can their receivers get separation on the defensive backs? Can they, on the other side of the ball, can they slow down Georgia's running game with that defensive line with Aiden Hutchinson? So all of those things, you kind of got to wait and see until you see it on the field.
And David, to me, I just see it as one of those games. In my head, I've got this as the SEC championship from a couple of years ago, and I'm waiting to see if the other quarterback is going to have to play the second half because Stetson can't get it done.
Well,
I mean, they've got J.T. Daniels, and then Michigan, it's interesting with their quarterbacks. McNamara has been the leader, kind of been the gutty guy. A lot of people say he reminds them of Jim Harbaugh himself, you know, just kind of a gritty competitor type. And then the guy they got behind him, J.J. McCarthy, is the 5-star. You can see the elite arm talent already, but there's some inexperience. So I'm interested to see how they, I mean, not split's not the right word, how many snaps J.J. McCarthy ends up getting in that game.
Kind of reminds me of Michigan in the late 90s when Drew Henson was seemingly looming over a couple of quarterbacks, and Greasy and Brady were the ones that were actually getting it done, but Henson was the 5-star that we had to play. Bill, your thoughts on the significance of how Cincinnati performs on New Year's Eve? We've had a lot of blowouts in the semifinals. You and I both know that if Cincinnati gets whacked, well, hell, Oklahoma's been whacked a couple times. SEC teams have been whacked. Big Ten teams have been whacked, you know, but they'll get crushed. And we know they're going to a Power 5. But do you believe Cincinnati, how they perform New Year's Eve, will have significance for the sport going forward either way?
Oh, I mean, for sure. Whether it's fair or not, I mean, this is the Group of Five's chance to get in there and compete and to show, hey, you know, we belong in this thing, and we've been hammering the table for years, whether you were UCF, Houston, Boise State, and they get to represent in that fashion. I mentioned that stat earlier. Yeah, we've watched Alabama beat Washington, Notre Dame, Clemson, Michigan State, and I'm missing one there in these semifinals. Oklahoma, 5 semifinals by an average of 20.2 points per game. So to me, if they beat Cincinnati by 3 touchdowns, it's not going to feel any different than watching those games. So, and I mean, you get the David and Goliath motif and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but people, if Cincinnati competes, they're going to say, hey, we deserve to be in there more. And if Alabama stomps them, the elitist, and there are a lot of them, are going to say, why do we have Cincinnati in the playoffs? No doubt about it.
Bill, final question, and thanks for your time. Gut feeling, do you think the powers that be in the sport will come to an agreement in Indianapolis in a month on a 12-team playoff?
I hope so, but I don't think so. I think the process still has a lot of moving parts that they haven't figured out, and between the alliance, between what the TV networks are going to do, where they're going to put these games, how many teams. I mean, should it be 8? Should it be 12? There are a lot of moving parts to this that I'm not sure we'll get it right away, and I don't anticipate we'll have a 12-team playoff until, like they said, 24-25.
He's Bill Bender, Sporting News, sportingnews.com. You can follow him on Twitter at BillBender92, BillBender92. Bill, on behalf of Mark and all of us with the show, an early Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, safe travels.
Hey, no problem. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you guys as well. Thanks so much for having me.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Well, how about that? He doesn't think it's going to happen. The folks in and around the committee have said we need to get this done right around the championship game in Indianapolis so that we can move forward for 24.
Well, and that's what, I wish we had a little more time, because Bill, if you heard him, he said, well, I don't think they'll get anything done this week. I think it'll be until they won't have it until they start in 24. Well, that answer doesn't comply with what they've told us, right?
Right.
Because if they don't get it done by the championship, they say they can't get it done by 24, correct?
Right. And you don't know if this is a false deadline that someone is
Right.
pushing, in which it's like, hey, we need to do this or else we're going to have to wait out our current contract with not just ESPN, but with this playoff format, which means we'll be for 5 more years.
I think we'll have to expand on this a little bit on the other side, because as what Bill said, there are a lot of moving parts. And yesterday, you and I went through a John Olrand Sports Business Journal article during a break, or actually after the show, because it pertained to some stuff that David deals with in the real world, and I didn't want to just dump it on him on air. So we've worked through what I can ask him and what I can't ask him. But as Bill said, there are so many moving parts in the sports media world right now. And all of these, I think, have an effect on what we're going to do for college football, David.
I think it's a lot more complicated. I don't know if it's interesting, but it's a lot more complicated than I think the average fan understands. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Visit gpstpete.com now to secure the best.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Don't you notice, David? I'm good.
So we'd go back, hook up from home and do it the way that
Yeah.
we used to.
Yeah, and I record it, and I just MP3 it, send it to him, and he's got it in the morning to play.
Well, my thought was for January to have Joe 1 week, Troy 1 week, EA 1 week. Okay.
Would be awesome.
Boom, boom, boom.
Be awesome. And, EA to me is an anytime interview because I could do another one with her before the NHL playoffs, before March Madness. And just, she was she's a fascinating story to me.
Yeah. I pitched her to Seth for Sports with Friends. I said, you could do a podcast with EA. I said, EA runs a clothing line. I said, EA did, Dancing with the Stars.
Right. Like my mother-in-law knows she's a sports person, but knows her because of Dancing with the Stars.
Right.
Because she's a pro football fan, not a college. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
And you throw that on top of the Pittsburgh side, she's watching CBS far more than she's ever watching Fox. But the way she talks about her, like people think they know her. Like she did that well on Dancing with the Stars. She gave enough of herself where people actually think they know her, which I think, for at that level's pretty amazing. That's not funny, Debbie. I know you're trying to be funny.
God, I lost a lot of money in the Mirage.
Yesterday, Klecko, I'm watching the Golf Channel when I got home from work because they had the replay of the final round of the shootout. And I did not watch 1 second of the shootout. So I'm like, you know what? I'll sit here and I'll watch a shootout yesterday morning. I didn't even know who won yesterday. That was the funny part. If you did it during the starting five, I didn't pay attention. So I watch that and it ends. And then they go to whatever their noon golf show is. Do you know what they did on the noon golf show? How they started it? They replayed most every good shot from Tiger and Charlie from the PNC Championship from 2 years ago.
Or last year.
Was it last year they played in it? Okay, that was right before the accident then?
Right. Yeah, because the accident was February.
That's what they played. Like they were showing Masters highlights, David.
You're the Golf Channel. What are you going to sell? It's December.
And then they're putting Tiger will be on. Oh, hey, I'm with you. Don't get me wrong. I used to watch a lot of college hockey. It's a soft spot and a sore spot with David and I because the Big Ten Network, for everything it did for the Big Ten, it completely crushed two great hockey conferences.
The WCHA was the best conference in hockey, and it blew it up.
And the CCHA was really good.
It was.
And the WCHA was the best conference in hockey. I mean, routinely you'd have Minnesota,
North
and
Dakota.
now they're Minnesota State, but they were Mankato or whatever. But You've got Minnesota, you've got Denver, you've got North Dakota State.
Colorado College had a run. Not North Dakota.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Final hour for those of you in Tampa, St. Pete. We'll have Pat Kirwan on in about a half an hour to talk all things NFL. Speaking of NFL, Rams over the Cardinals, 30-23. So we have a race in the NFC West. After all, Arizona right now does have the tiebreaker, though, even though they split the season series, because Arizona only has one division loss and the Rams have two. Arizona with bit of a test down the stretch, schedule-wise, including a second-to-last game of the year in Dallas. But right now, Green Bay the 1, Tampa the 2, Arizona the 3, Dallas the 4, and then the Rams are a 5, but 5 teams with a very good record, all 9-4, all better.
All right. Before the break, you really sold this hard, David. I mean, I think our audience really stuck through the break with the way that you sold this.
You know, I undersold how the business part of college football and all of the moving parts. And as you said to me, it's actually quite interesting. And now I don't even want to listen to you. But
John Orand, who works for Sports Business Journal, put out a column yesterday, his predictions in the sports media world. And I want to bring it up now because of what Bill Bender just said. Bill just got done saying, I don't think they get the college football playoff done here in the next couple of weeks when they're all going to meet. Well, that's kind of a big deal because here are all the things that are going on in the sports television landscape. Amazon, they are making a serious play at the NFL's media properties.
Well, they're going to have Thursday Night Football beginning next year. They've already bought out the final year of Thursday Night Football from Fox, and Thursday Night Football will be on Amazon exclusively next year, not even on simulcast on NFL Network. The only thing is in the home markets, Mark, like when Baltimore went to Miami, a Baltimore local affiliate and a Miami local affiliate will have the game on. But otherwise, even us, you know, west coast of Florida, we'd have to watch it on Amazon.
Correct, because we aren't technically in anyone's market based on geographic location. But Amazon is now in a deal, not only for the Thursday property that they bought, but they are working on less than 50% stake in the NFL Network, the Red Zone, and NFL.com. Well, I don't know what that means for Red Zone on Comcast. I'm sure it maintains the same. DirecTV and the Sunday Ticket, their deal is done at the end of this year. They had said forever they were done with the deal. In the last, few months, DirecTV is now back in negotiations with Sunday Ticket because they figured out that if they didn't have Sunday Ticket, they were going to go out of business.
Mark, it reminded me of, this is going back quite a few years, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in a bit of a, stalemate with his stepmother.
Yes.
Teresa.
Yes.
Who was running DEI. And he wanted certain business things from her, and then she wouldn't give in. And Tony Stewart was asked to comment on the future of Dale Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Racing. And he said, I don't understand how DEI can exist without Dale Earnhardt. And it's sure enough, Junior leaves and goes to Hendrick, and DEI was done.
Right.
And we have always felt it's the same with DirecTV. They lose Sunday Ticket. Explain to me how you stay afloat.
There's a reason why SiriusXM keeps giving Howard Stern gazillions of dollars.
There's at least now a debate 15 plus years later as to whether or not
it can survive without.
Right. But for the first 10, 12 years of that 15 years, they desperately needed it.
Remember, there's a debate. Okay, so back to Sunday Ticket. It's either going to be Disney Plus or DirecTV or Amazon. But more than likely, from what John Orand is saying, he believes in what he is hearing is that Disney and DirecTV will have it.
So one will be an over-the-air and other will be a streaming
Correct.
component?
So, I mean, you know, and this hits me right in the chest because I'm trying to figure out what I do a year from now. Do I jump all in and cut the cord? You and I have talked about this on and off air for a year and a half. The other one is, this is where, David, say what you want, because we know that the SEC is moving to ESPN. What he is predicting is that the Big Ten will sign deals with both CBS and Fox. And I bring this up because this has direct correspondence to what Bill Bender's talking about getting this deal done. Do you honestly believe that CBS, Fox, and NBC spending money on Notre Dame, the Big Ten, and whatever else they're spending money on are going to just tell ESPN they can have the entire playoff? There's no way in hell.
Well, the conferences have also taken a look at the NFL TV deal from a year ago. And these conference commissioners, some of whom don't agree on anything, but they at least agree on this one thing. Boy, the NFL seems to be getting more money by bringing in more networks. Maybe we should open this college football playoff up to more than just the mouse. And you do have Fox, and I didn't, John Orand in Sports Business Journal implies that other networks would be interested. I didn't know if NBC and or CBS would shell out the kind of coin that it would take to get involved in the playoff, but I figured Fox would. I know Fox would.
Right. And hey, look, he's not saying, he doesn't even predict that he doesn't even mention the college football playoff in this. All he says is CBS is going to go after the Big Ten, and he thinks that both NBC and Time Warner Media, or Warner Media, which it's now called, will also make a run at the Big Ten.
Interesting, because NBC, they basically chose soccer over the NHL. They had, $400 or $500 million a year, and they're like, so which are we going to spend this on? Do we want to spend it on hockey, or do we want to spend it on European soccer? And they made the decision they wanted to spend it on soccer. And so they retained their rights. They've retained Sunday Night Football. They have the Olympics. They have Notre Dame. How much money do these networks have? And so if they are going to be a player in this, that's interesting. That's money they haven't spent in a while.
Well, then NBC also has a NASCAR decision to make, because with NBCSN going out of business at the end of the year here, they still have USA, and they have other places where they could air sports. And USA is a better deal for any league or team or sport than it ever was on NBCSN. It gets in far more households.
Well, and the word is that NBC is not all that enamored with carrying the second half of the NASCAR season. Now, I will say the playoff did better than expected, and the demographics are pretty good. The younger drivers are just starting to catch on and develop their following. And you have to at least acknowledge this, Mark. I mean, NASCAR went all in with the young driver. These guys are still really young. I mean, in theory, they could do 10, 12 years of banging paint against one another here.
And David, really, the first youth movement's already passed in NASCAR.
Right.
This group's actually when they made this move and try to go young, it didn't work. They pushed some old guys out who were still really popular.
Right.
But now all of a sudden you got Elliott and Larson. You got some of these guys that are attracting people. I said it to you yesterday off air. I saw Bubba Wallace's car. It's really cool. Like, that's part of the Jordan brand now. That's another element to this. And I know this may bore some of you, but in terms of the college football playoff, I do think some of this stuff is relevant. And you'll hear more about this as it's going on. And I do think the big part of the college football playoff is what David alluded to, is Fox. What are they going to do about wanting a piece of this? Will CBS want a piece of it?
Here's the thing and this is very under the hood, behind the curtain, whatever you want to call it. ESPN owns the playoff right now. They contractually own it. It's a 4-team contract. ESPN would love it to be bigger, but they only have so much money, and they have total control of it right now. So the bigger you make it, the more that's out there to bid on, the more money that college football is expecting ESPN to pay. ESPN doesn't want to pay that kind of money. So that brings in Fox and or whoever else, but that means ESPN has to do what? Give up total control of the sport.
And they have total control of the sport.
Now, if anything gets done before the current contract ends, it will do so on ESPN's terms. They have the rights. College football actually has to negotiate it with them. There are many people that are saying, let's just play out the contract. And then let's just put this up for open bidding, much like the NFL. And by then also, Amazon will have started their sports network. Maybe one or two other streaming services come all in. And then college football could really reap the benefits. I mean, if I was involved in big-time college football, I would be saying, let's just wait. Let's just wait. We have no idea what the landscape's going to look like 3 years from now when we can put it up for open bidding. Let's just wait. Remember, is the SEC going to stay on CBS for the final 2 years of its contract, or will ESPN buy them out a year early? If so, CBS has said publicly, we're not going to go dark. So then they've got to get some other programming. Where are they going to get it from? The Big Ten's contract is coming up at roughly the same time. Well, ESPN doesn't want to give up being the number 2 partner for the Big Ten. I mean, and the SEC doesn't want Oklahoma or Texas playing on CBS. And ESPN doesn't want them playing on CBS either. And they all want to join the conference by 2023, which is the final year of CBS's deal. So there is a lot to negotiate. You know, all these schools, Mark, that are supposed to switch conferences, that's tied into TV
Correct.
deals, which is tied into networks, which is, I mean, this is more complicated. Remember when boxing could never get a good championship fight because you couldn't get the BA
Right.
and the BC?
King had one,
And
Aram
King
had
and
the
Aram
other, and they
couldn't
hated
agree on
each
it.
other.
Right.
They wouldn't do fights.
And HBO Showtime.
Right.
How many fights didn't happen because one was an HBO fighter and one was a Showtime
That's
fighter?
why we got Pacquiao and Mayweather 5 years after the prime.
Right. So this is staggeringly complicated.
And as we've always said, when you're dealing with big money, you're dealing with big egos. And all of these are playing a part to the nth degree. It will be fascinating to watch. I hope at the end of the day, the sports fan comes out with the win. Miller and Moulton, Pat Kirwan, 20 minutes away, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Yeah, but Feeney, here's the thing. CBS isn't where your Gators are going to play in 2 years because they're going to ESPN.
Well, but also, Feeney, you say ESPN needs to cut the cord and let other networks have a piece of the cake.
Why?
If you're ESPN, why would you do that?
Klecko, that is nice, isn't it? That's probably a Gus thing, Powder Puff, would be my guess. But I'm with you.
Well, I also think it has to do with the fact that Fox prominently, Fox is treating the Big Ten the way CBS is treating the SEC.
And if you're a Big Ten person,
yes,
you finally are like, damn it, we're
right.
getting treated the way we're supposed to.
Damn right.
And it's,
And Big Ten fans want to play early. Big Ten fans want their games at noon and or 1 o'clock.
Well, it's an interesting thing. They don't want them at... They like the noon if they're at home. They hate the noon if they're going. That's a pain in the ass, David.
Noreen, announced teams are attached to a network. Networks hire the announcers.
So I'm just curious, Val. I always am really intrigued by this. College sports are unwatchable. So you watch? Just watch pro? I love the amount of people in a chat room for a sports talk show that tell me they don't watch sports.
Hey, Vile One, I can't disagree with you in terms of, you describe it as how F the system is. I like to call how charming it is. That's putting lipstick on a pig, though. There's no doubt. College sports is messed up. Football is. I mean, if you were to write it, hey, I've got an idea for a sport, and if you were to write this the way they do it down on a piece of paper and present it, people would look at you and go, you're crazy.
And like Vile One, I have to be serious. If you mean Miami and Nebraska, if you can't find your team's games, I do kind of put that on you in today's world. It's not that if you're able to get on Twitch, Vile One, like seriously, you're able to get on Twitch and chat and you can't find when your teams play, that seems out of body to me, man. It really does. I'm not trying to be mean here. Like if Moulton said that, I'd go, okay. Because we always mess with his computer skills about finding things, but you're not. You watch whatever games you want. Get ESPN Plus. You can watch all the FAU and FIU you want. Well, RCB, they pay their talent. Greenberg's making $10 million a year. Stephen A's making $10 million a year. They fired a bunch of people because they didn't need them, quite frankly.
I don't think Greeny's making 10, but I bet he's making 7.5.
I was just merely saying, he said they can't afford to pay their talent. They can. They just choose who they pay.
Right.
Herb Street's making a boatload.
What about SVP?
SVP's making a boatload. They pick and choose like anybody else, like any other business. What's fascinating to David and I is like how much they're paying the Stephen A's of the world for what the audience is.
Yeah, well, and Greeny as well. I mean, neither show draws 500,000 viewers. What those two guys are getting paid to draw 400 to 450,000 viewers between 8 a.m. and noon.
And it was why they wanted Bayless back, because they literally thought the amount of people that would sign up for Plus at $5 a month would pay his salary. And it was like $5 million a year. Because, they thought, whatever, divide that out and then divide it by 12, if you know what I mean. And they thought they'd get that.
30 seconds. One thing I've always thought about is, do you think they pay ex-NFL and ex-NBA players less because of the fact that they're ex-NFL and ex-NBA players?
It all depends on how big they are.
True. An NBA bag is
the other way to look at it, though, is, are they overpaid? Yes. But when you're paying $2 billion, when you're paying $500 million a year in rights fee, or more than that, when you then talk about what you have to spend.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton, 20 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday. Hope your week got off to a good start, and we thank you for starting your Tuesday off with us here on the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network, Pat Kirwan, to talk all things NFL about 15 minutes from now. Keep on watching on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. Sign up, subscribe. We appreciate it. And keep on listening in Tampa, St. Pete, Fort Myers, Naples to the Florida Sports Network, coming any day now to Lake City. We even have a meeting about that.
Yeah, meeting with the Brats today. Yep. Be a big one.
Meeting.
Hey,
they're going to feed us. Hey, how bad can it be? They're going to feed us.
If you want to text the show, you simply text FSN Radio. All one word, FSN Radio to 21,000. That means you, Tampa, St. Pete. We'd love to hear. We've been in this market for a while. We recognize some of the numbers and the faces. Would love to hear from our new listeners in the Tampa, St. Pete market as well.
Couple poll questions. One has to do with the whole transfer portal and whether or not you like it or not, yay or nay. It's as simple as that.
And they like it. by and large, to the tune of it's exactly 2/3 of the vote. 2/3 like it, 1/3 doesn't. Seems about right. That seems to be, and those that don't like it are far more adamant than those that do.
Which is usually the case. I mean, the negative is usually louder than the positive in every walk of life. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
95% of the time anyway. Now, I will say, I think it was Adam who first commented, and now Feeney in our Twitch chat room as well has commented that they're finding this transfer portal to be very NFL, NBA free agency like, which most fans like. But then again, that's professional sports. We have an expectation of professional sports, which, Mark, I contend is different than college sports. College sports is not professional, even though it's a multi-billion-dollar empire. It's not professional, and this is professionalizing college sports.
No, there's no doubt, David. And I guess the part I can't ever figure out is that I don't think most of these people would feel the same way if it was their kid. I really don't.
Well, yeah, people don't often feel the same way when it's their team versus a hypothetical argument about, the other 31 or the sport at large. You got to go to that school and you got to keep working. I mean, because if you don't keep working, you're less of a man. Shut up. I am so sick and tired of the mentality of people that think that these athletes don't have the same rights that they do. It drives me nuts. All right, we have to go back about 30 seconds. Where did that accent come from?
I don't know.
Is that like a Mike Gundy on steroids? I'm a man, I'm 40.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I think it was somewhere
thing?
that Clint Eastwood meant the Beverly Hillbillies. It was Get Off My Lawn guy from Kentucky. Clint Eastwood was listening to Tyler Childers drinking moonshine in the Kentucky mountains. That's what I think that was.
I was going to say. I will say, you had a little bit of a Howard Dean squeal there.
Anytime, look at David. I think I've learned one thing. Anytime you do any accent at the end, if you go, it's okay.
I don't know. Basically, he was out of the race within 48 hours.
And I've been out of the race for a long time, David.
I enjoyed it, though. I got to admit, at first when you started, I'm thinking Felipe's parents don't sound like this.
Not at all.
That's not a whole other story.
No.
That is, and it is something that is almost an intangible. It is something that is difficult to define. But Saturdays are different than Sundays. We would all agree on that, right? And
yes.
When you ask somebody to explain why, you get many different reasons. I contend, Mark, it's a feel. As someone who attends Saturday games regularly and attends Sunday games regularly, the parking lots are very different.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
Staggeringly different. They're different in age. They're different in socioeconomic status.
They're different in the amount of how much they drink, how fast, and what it is.
Yes. And what their purpose is that day, even. All right. The purpose of the fan on a Saturday is seemingly very different, even from the purpose and the mission of the fan and their whole experience on Sunday.
And while it's a community in both regards,
Absolutely.
It's a very different community.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm not judging one
it's
over the other.
It's Fort Myers, Naples. It's Tampa, St. Pete, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Very much. For our two markets. Sunday is Fort Myers, Tampa. Saturdays is Naples, St. Pete. It's really a perfect analogy, David.
And this is professionalizing with this much movement, with also now this much money. I mean,
money's been there now for a decade.
Well, it's changed in the last month, and you've even said.
It has.
I mean, the Mel Tucker contract, when all of a sudden a guy in his second year at Michigan State who's been a head coach at the highest level for like
3-4 years.
a year
2
at Colorado
or whatever. Interim at the Jags for a day and a half.
And all of a sudden now he's going from getting the $2.5 million gig to the $4 million gig to $9.5 million. Wow. And then it's the old, Mel Tucker's getting $9.5 million. What am I going to get paid? And so now a whole bunch of coaches are making high single digits and now are in the Nick Saban territory, even
right,
double digits.
And David, here's something I was thinking of as you were speaking, and tell me if you think that this is inaccurate. The other part about Saturdays in the feel is that the school controls the narrative so much that we don't ever get the real negative stories. We're not enlightened of what gray shirting is. We don't see the scholarship kid that just gets ran out and told, we don't want you anymore. And I believe that if the college fan knew a lot more about what made the sausage, they wouldn't be so angry about what's going on right now. But they've never been privy as to how the sausage made. And quite frankly, they don't want to know. They just want to show up on Saturdays and think it's 1966 and all these kids are just working hard and they're great student athletes and they're here for the pride of Alabama.
Yes.
That's what they want.
Yes. You play for the jersey.
Roll damn Tide.
Yes. You play for the jersey. And that is though, Mark, that is the connection. That is the fabric of the entire sport, though, is the sweater. It is. And the more that we professionalize Saturday, and you may not like that characterization. I don't mean you, but I mean someone listening may not like that characterization. But let's face it, more rights for the athletes, more money. This is professional sports. I mean, this is what we've gone through this over the last 50 years in professional sports. We're now beginning this journey in major college athletics.
And David, you've been doing this longer than I have. You started doing this in North Dakota, before I started doing it in Raleigh, by probably 5-8 years, I think. So you're old enough in this industry. I'm not, because I don't ever remember having to deal with it. But my guess is there were times in North Dakota that you got the baseball caller go, I just can't believe that he's getting $3 million. I won't watch anymore because they're just getting paid too much. I never dealt with that on the pro side. I don't know if you did. I missed that slightly. So we became comfortable and almost numb to what the professional athlete was making. There was a time that it used to tick us off. And then we're done with it. And I think what's going on now with the NIL and even the coaches and all of that is that we're going to deal with that now. They just can't. We've had someone in our Twitch chat room that's just beyond mad about the quarterback that left Ohio State to go to Texas because he didn't stay at Ohio State for a whole year when he did, that he got a deal for NIL that apparently he didn't fulfill. I don't know. He did the commercials. He did whatever was contractually obligated for that NIL. It's not his fault he didn't play.
Well, and I would just say, is it your money? I don't know. Why are you upset? I mean, the sponsor should be upset. If the kid owes the sponsor money, the sponsor will say, hey, you owe me money.
Right. Give me the car back. Check. Right.
Get somebody from Texas to write that $300,000 check. I don't know what to tell you. You owe me money back. So,
but did you deal with any of that, though? At the beginning of
after the baseball strike, when salaries went crazy, the owners, the hardliners, and then they lost. We had the strike. It didn't work out well. When they resumed, Jerry Reinsdorf was the hardest line of owners. And he was the one that basically said, fine, if this is how it's going to be. And he paid Albert Bell $11 million a year. And it damn near doubled salaries overnight. Boom, fine. This is how it's going to be. You play by my rules. And so then there was a lot of resentment between the strike, and then also salaries were ballooning in the mid-90s. And so yeah. But this to me will be interesting. Bill Bender said it's going to take a few years to play itself out. The professionalization, like tomorrow, and we got a break here because we got Pat, but tomorrow is, early signing.
Right.
I think if there's no commissioner of college sports. If there was, I would get them all to agree we need to have like a transfer portal day or 1 week in July, like the NBA does it. If you know what I mean, Mark, in which we go, hey, transfer portal, you know what it's going to be? The third week of January. That's transfer portal week. That's when everybody declares and everybody moves because it makes for good TV. Let's get it all condensed period of time. Just like NFL free agency, NBA free agency, etc. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan next. All things NFL here on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistant band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Now, David, although I do... Oh, never mind.
By the way, Peyton Manning did a breakdown.
I retweeted it, David. I retweeted it. He's not in there today. Oh, no, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
A breakdown of what?
How good Tua has been playing.
Yes, sir.
Guy by the name of Peyton Manning did it.
Hey.
He doesn't know anything.
Mark, do you know what time it is?
Stop it. That doesn't interest me.
I think you know
your little cuteness doesn't interest me.
you know what time
No. Your cuteness doesn't interest me. Go back and play video games if you're going to act like this. You are now the producer of a statewide radio show. You are not on Wayne's World.
I just thought everyone should be aware
Statewide
of
radio
what time
show.
it is.
You are no help to me. None whatsoever. What the F is going on around here? I am on an island, people.
What on the wide, wide world of sports is going on around here?
I'm on an island. Guys, it's not necessarily an on-air question, but are you guys in the same studio when you had an afternoon show on ESPN? I'm like, yes, the irony is dripping.
Uh-huh.
Now, although I do like the sound of that kind of NBA free agency style transfer portal.
That's how but you need a commissioner. You need to say these are the rules.
These are the dates.
You have to,
these are the dates.
Declare before January. Like I would make it January 17th.
Right. But
and it would be that week, by the way, and it would run through February, the Tuesday before what is the second signing day.
Okay, music. Why do you want schools to pay one another for scholarships that they all have? They all have the same amount of scholarships, okay? Where is this money you all want people to pay?
Money's not the problem, by the way.
Why does the school, the kid just wants to go somewhere else? Why does the school have to pay someone back?
But all I'm wondering is, are there any academic issues?
Yes. When you transfer, there are all kinds. They F you 46 ways but sideways when you transfer.
Saying. So it's
these kids aren't playing football to graduate college.
Obviously not. Like clearly not. But what I'm saying is it's going to be hard to make something like that happen because of the different academic curriculums that each university has.
Actually, Noreen makes a great point there. Your January 17th doesn't work. They've got to get in before the semester starts.
Okay, then I would have done it effective yesterday. I would have had the transfer portal. It'd be this week then.
This week till Christmas Day?
Christmas Eve. 13th through the 24th.
And I actually think it could, to be honest, it could go all the way till the early signing day if you wanted. I mean, because there's like if you think in terms of NBA.
Or the end of the year, December 31st then. Fine. But if we need to do it before like the next semester start, there are school semester quarters or what have you that start really early January. So, yeah, it's a good point. How about 12/13 through 12/31?
Yeah.
Give you 2.5 weeks.
Makes Christmas uncomfortable for the coaches. Don't know what to tell you.
And it's a 2.5 week period in which we get early signing and we get the transfer portal. And coaches know, by the way, who they didn't get in the early signing, so they know who they need.
Right. It's kind of like how the draft and free agency work in the NFL.
Good job, Debbie. Good job by you. Pat on the line?
Soy sauce.
Correct. Sausage.
So I'm gonna make what are they? Armadillo eggs this week.
Huh?
So you parboil some jalapenos.
We're going back, but I want to hear about it.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Couple minutes later than normal. That's on the hosts. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Pat Kirwan for the first of his weekly appearances, brought to us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Listen to Pat weekday afternoons on NFL Radio, co-hosting Moving the Chains with Jim Miller. And he helps out on CBS's NFL Today show. Pat, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, fellas. Interesting game last night, stirring up the top of the NFC playoff structure. So I thought Green Bay had a chance to get to the one spot. I don't think they'll give it up now. I don't know. Maybe you see it differently, but I think they'll ride in as the one seed.
Well, and they had it last year. And the irony is they've had it 2-3 times under Rodgers and never made it to the big game as the one. Ironically, made it as the 6 when they had to play 3 road games. So I guess we'll find out ultimately once again if it really matters. But I agree with you, Pat.
There you go.
All right, Pat.
I think you and I do agree.
Well, it's a good start. Here's my question for you. Who's going to win the NFC West? Did you see anything yesterday that leads you to believe that Arizona can't get this into the barn and be the 3 or the 4?
Oh, I think Arizona will get there. The Rams looked terrific last night, and that was the Ram team everyone imagined was going to be around. But their inconsistencies are fairly standard. So I would think Arizona will get in, and I don't think Dallas is the 4 to me. I don't think they're going to bump up at all. I think they'll just win the division and be a 4 seed. So Arizona is the 3.
What is interesting about the Cowboys is they have a great conference record. If by chance those above them falter, Dallas then starts to win some tiebreakers. But, Green Bay will be favored in all 4 of their remaining games. Tampa will be favored in all 4 of their remaining games. And I think Arizona will be favored in 3 of their 4 remaining games. So a lot has to happen for Dallas. Pat, do you think there's anything to the fact Arizona, for whatever reason, 7-0 on the road and 3-3 at home, or do you think it's just a coincidence?
I think more coincidence than anything else. I've talked to Steve Keim twice in the last month or so. They like the road. It's kind of like, he's like I used to be. You get on the plane, you're always nervous, the road game, and then they've done very well out there. But I do think it's coincidence as you start to look at them. Kyler win a road home no matter what. 2 touchdown passes in his last 92 throws. So that can't keep going on like that. Otherwise, Mark's going to be telling me, it told you to take the Rams as a division chance. He's got to get on a little bit personally, but I don't think the road and the home really is the reason they have lost a couple games at their own house.
Pat, Urban Meyer's having a hell of a first year. I mean, this is something. But Shad Khan said, I'm not going to make a spur-of-the-moment decision. Well, they play the two easiest teams they may play all year. There's a chance that they get a win here. Why do you think he is reluctant to make a decision, and what would you be advising Mr. Khan to do right now?
Well, I wish he had asked me back when he was interviewing coaches, because I would have said, at this point, with the way your franchise is, I wouldn't take a college guy, any college guy, especially one that was a lifer college guy. You know, guys like Pete Carroll that were head coach of the NFL, then went to USC, wasn't a college guy. But I think that job called for an NFL guy from top to bottom too, like evaluating players, understanding the cap. Take it all the way back, Mark, to when free agency was starting. I think Urban actually kind of thought he was going to recruit guys rather than, no, you just send them a check and then they show up. He didn't get that part, and nor did he want to. And I talked to Urban a while. He understands the game is different. But it's not about him. It's about most of the college guys that make the jump. We all know the names of the guys. And then the great Nick Saban didn't really like what he was doing and didn't figure out how to keep Drew Brees over the doctor's recommendation. So I think that job called for a real NFL guy, personally. And now, and I don't even like hiring coaches as my head coach that weren't head coaches before. Not because they don't deserve a chance or they might be great, because we can cite the ones that are, but the learning curve, they don't give you the time to learn how to be a head coach. And so I don't think they're going to fire him. I think there's too much money tied up in it. But I think you'll see a massive staff change, and he might have to take some recommendations on the kind of guys he wants in there. And I don't know how many guys would go there unless that's their only option.
Pat, my concern, and it's not just with the Jags, it's also with the Jets, because they took quarterbacks 1 and 2 last year, is forget the 1-loss record this year. I didn't care what either team did, 1 loss. I didn't care if they went 0-17. The purpose of 2021 was to develop those two quarterbacks, period. I mean, the franchise is tied to these two selections. Everybody's jobs are tied to these two quarterbacks. And I just don't think either franchise has properly handled, whether it was through drafting and free agency, people around them and or coaching them and how they have handled them this season. I just feel as if both organizations have failed their young quarterbacks.
Well, they went to teams, we know this, they went to teams that weren't very good. And the idea that you fix the entire roster to the point of the quarterback can learn how to play while the team is winning a few games. I'm with you on it's not about winning, it's about development, but the media and the owners, they want winning. And so if they really cared about just development, I would think that Trevor's doing okay. He's kind of learned how. Up in New York, 4 teams were eliminated this week. All 4 were manned by first-year head coaches. So what does that remind us of? It reminds us that this is a hard business, and most times the coaching opening is because the team is bad. And then drafting a quarterback near the top is really impossible to get something done fairly quickly. But they're still trying to win games. I think you and I could sit here, and the 3 of us could say, hey, that's not the most important piece right now. But that's not what happens when you're coaching the team. Whether it's your ego or the owner being grumpy or assistant coaches betraying you to the media, there's a lot of pressure, and everybody thinks you're supposed to win all the time. You left out Chicago. I mean, when you described what Jacksonville and the Jets are doing, is it much better in Chicago for Justin Fields?
No.
No,
absolutely not. But we knew that was messed up going in, though, because the ownership didn't take care of the GM and the coach and left them dangling. And so I think we all expected that Chicago was not going to go well with Fields this year. I thought that Jacksonville and the Jets would be more invested in protecting their investment than they have been?
Well, let's talk about protecting investments. Like, maybe it's at the point, especially at the Jets, that you don't play him for the rest of the year. That he's seen enough, you've seen enough, he's got his feet wet, he's got enough film to study, and he's got a whole off season to develop his body and his mind. And, you watch Joe Flacco play one game with the exact same line and same receivers and same everything, and he functions like an NFL guy. Now, he's not the future. He's not even really the present, but it was probably an idea that I would have put to you if you were the head coach, David. Why don't we just have Wilson watch Flacco play the rest of the year so he can get a feel for what it takes to be good? Because Tua, in a lot of ways, got a chance to watch fit. And he's finished 17 starts now, Tua, and I would say he's probably farther down the road than Wilson will be at the end of 17 starts.
All right, Pat, little different scenario for Buffalo right now. Josh Allen left in a walking boot. They've got 3 games they should win in the Patriots. If they go 3-1, they're going to be the 5. There's just no doubt about that. How cautious do you have to be with Allen right now? Because the tournament's the important part. Getting in the tournament's necessary, but this is why you actually went out and got what you think could be an okay backup. That's a similar guy with Trubisky to what you have. Not as good, I get it. But Buffalo, how cautious, how guarded are you going to be for Allen this week especially?
Well, he has to play because it's a double-edged sword. You already described it. You got to get in first. So he needs to play. Number 2, I think it's really the head coach Sean McDermott's going to sit down with his offensive guys and go, curtail the running, curtail the escaping, get rid of the ball fast, and run the ball. Now, it doesn't mean they're a good run team. And then sit down with the kid and say, look, you have to play. Strategically, we'll put some things in for you to run the ball in the red zone, but you're going to play a much more conservative approach to this. And if we have to change that philosophy in the fourth quarter because we're down 10 points, we'll take a shot. But we're going to try to conservative, put you in a different situation so we can get to the playoffs, but with you on the team. I think the foot's not that bad from what I've been told. So, shoot him up and play him.
Can Buffalo fix what is seemingly wrong with them, which is offensive line, needs to play better? And can they actually call running plays for a running back? I mean, Andy Reid is calling Buffalo going, hey guys, you need to run the ball more.
Yeah, you just got to force yourself to do it. So you might be winning games 14-10, something like that, but they're winnable games, so you got to go out and do it. And you just got to run the ball. It's the old Bill Cowher rule. It's not the yards per carry, it's the number of carries. So you're going to have to play that way. And if you actually start to advance the ball on the ground, you'll get your play action pass opportunities, but it's a conservative approach to getting there. We were talking a few minutes ago about setting up young quarterbacks. Buffalo's a great example of doing it the right way. They bought an offensive line when they decided, we're drafting Allen and we're playing him. So they went out and bought an offensive line. But I think also, David, you got a lot of young guys up there and a young quarterback, and there's no real senior guy that can grab this team. Well, look at Rodgers. I'm not here to compare him, but Rodgers, he's lost almost his entire offensive line throughout the year. Yet it doesn't rattle him. He understands. And so Josh isn't at that point. Josh is a young guy scrambling around. Even Ben loses his whole offensive line basically last offseason, and he still has to kind of, because of his wisdom, negotiate this junk and try to get something going. But I think these young teams, and I even think Sean McDermott is learning a life lesson here. He's had a couple things to say in his press conference that his frustration kind of came out. So I think when a young team is having a little bit of trouble like they are, it's a lot harder to gather the troops up and advance.
Pat,
they're in the middle of learning something.
Pat, David is going to die on his Minnesota Vikings hill. I am going to die on my Indianapolis Colt hill. Of all of these 6 and 7 teams in the NFC, and I'm not even saying to win a Super Bowl, to win a playoff game. Pat, is there a 6 and 7 team that you're willing to stick out there above the other 4 to say they will be a playoff team?
Well, I think Washington's so beat up now, so they lose their 2 pass rushers. Then their 3rd rusher, who turned out to be pretty good, gets COVID. We should talk about COVID now that it's reaching an NFL real problem. And I think Washington's got enough injuries and the quarterback's limping around that I think Minnesota is back in the hunt for the 7th spot. So I think David stays alive, but he's on the lifeboat. But I think Minnesota can make it now because of Washington's beat up roster. Over in your place, I think the Colts can hold on. Actually, there's a lot to like about the Colts, right, as a wild card. I don't see them ever winning the division or anything, but I was just looking at them pretty closely this morning because they play Saturday. I had to get ready for that thing. They got a hard game, obviously, with New England, but when you dig down into them, you start to realize that there's a couple things. That they score points. They're almost at 30 points a game. They are 4-1 in their last 5 games. Yes, they beat bad teams, the Jets, the Houston, and Jacksonville, and they can't beat winning teams. They're 2-5 going in that direction. But Wentz is playing okay. Wentz against good teams, playoff caliber teams with winning records. Yeah, they're 2-5, but he's played all right. He's 12 touchdowns in there, and just 5 picks. So I do think both of these guys are going to make it. I think both of you will go to the postseason telling each other, I told you so.
Wow. That would be great. It'd be nice to be right for once. Pat, I'm not kidding. 5 seconds. Do the Chargers have anything for the Chiefs on Thursday, or is KC at a different level? 5 seconds.
4 seconds. No, they're not ready for that. They don't have enough.
There you
Even
go.
though they beat them last time.
There you go. Pat Kirwan, CBS's NFL Today Show, weekday afternoons, NFL Radio moving the chains, and he joins us twice a week courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, be well. We'll talk Friday.
Talk to you Friday, fellas. Thank you.
Pat Kirwan joining us once again here on Miller and Moulton. To those of you in Tampa, St. Pete, hey, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Bonus hour coming up. Bobby Belt, talk a little Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys?
That was good. That was solid. Miller and Moulton.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Visit gpstpete.com now to secure the best seats.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. boom, boom. But I'm like, still not convinced. Then he threw, he's like, I'm like, oh, wow, that's it. All right. Armadillo eggs. Saw this on TikTok. This is why I go on TikTok. Bourbon and food recipes, and then the occasional cat. So you take your jalapenos, you core them out. This thing parboiled them for a couple of minutes. I always recommend that. Gets them a little softer, makes them a little easier to work with. Stuff them with cream cheese. And then they took one package of like country sausage, ground country sausage, and one package of ground Italian sausage. Mix those together. Then you wrap the jalapeno in your sausage, and then you put it in your air fryer or oven, or you could actually fry it if you wanted to. But then they sliced them so they looked like basically like a sushi roll. It was looked pretty impressive.
Sounds delightful.
It does. Got a little bit of heat.
Miami Heat. Sorry.
No, that's all right. See, that is good. That's good. That's funny. That's cute. You didn't start talking about some obscure Heat reference that none of us are going to know. That was good. See, I don't.
Not some guy in a headband.
Right.
Who scored 51 points against the Clippers one time in an overtime win in Toronto in 2013?
It's probably T-Mac.
It was T. Ross.
Everybody left with Pat. That's not very nice of you. I have a little something here.
We've got Bobby Belt here.
I have a little something for 9:10
Okay,
then.
good. That report was, Adam, you're the only one that's pounding the table about that report, because that report was denied as quickly as a report could be denied by the participants in the report.
Who's he work for?
NFL Network, and he does the Boys and Girl singular podcast.
Okay.
Bobby Bowie is on hold.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts all coming up in roughly 40 minutes' time. He's Bobby Belt, NFL Network, host of the Boys and Girl podcast with Jane Slater. You can follow Bobby on Twitter at BobbyBeltTX. BobbyBeltTX. Bobby, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, we are well, and the question that we threw out there for our audience, and they have been chiming in, whether it be on a text line or the Twitch chat room this morning, is about the Cowboys. And are you buying them? And Bobby, most of our audience is not. They're characterizing them as more pretender than contender. You follow this team closely. You buying?
Well, I mean, I think that first off, in terms of I'm not surprised anybody outside of Dallas would have that perspective right now. Just because when you look at the national games they played, like a lot of the big primetime games, they played Sunday Night Football against the Vikings without Dak, so people didn't see them, fully orbed there. But they lost to Tampa Bay on national television. One of the biggest games of the year was Chiefs Cowboys. They played awful then. The Thanksgiving Day game, they lost to the Raiders, and so. I get it, because whenever the national audience has had a chance to really take in the Cowboys on a grand scope, then they've played poorly. And so I get that. But just from my perspective, Dak's got to figure it out. Dak was playing like an MVP the first half of the season. Since he came back from the calf injury, he has not played well at all. This is, the worst stretch we've seen from him since probably 2017. And so, the defense is starting to come together, and that's encouraging. But it's like, the first half of the season, the offense was clicking on all cylinders and looked really great. And the second half of the season, now you're seeing the defense is playing really well, but the offense is, gone a little stagnant. And so if they could sync those up, then yes, they would be a contender. But they've got, 4 weeks to really get this offense right again. And if they can do that, then yeah, they're a real contender in the playoffs. It just remains to be seen if they're able to get this offense right again.
Well, the one thing they haven't had is a stud defensively in a long time. And it looks like Micah Parsons is that guy. And you talk about that defense getting better. He seems to be a one-man wrecking crew right now. And there's been, whether the different worries about the Cowboys have been there over time, they haven't had the difference maker on that side of the ball in a long time. I think that changes everything for Dallas.
Yeah, Micah Parsons is, he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he very well could win Defensive Player of the Year. He's been a stud, and he's not just, doing it with the pass rush. He's been good in run defense for them, and he's been good in coverage, and, almost had an interception this past week, and had a nice pass defense against New Orleans that led to an interception from Jaron Kearse. So he's been good all around, and I think that he's going to be even more of a problem now that they've got the rest of their pass rush group back. They just got back Neville Gallimore at defensive tackle and Randy Gregory at defensive end this weekend. DeMarcus Lawrence just came back 2 weeks ago for the first time since the season opener against Tampa Bay. He got hurt in practice the following week and was out until the New Orleans game. And so they've kind of finally got everybody healthy on defense, and especially with that pass rush, that's going to benefit Micah a lot. You just look at those players right there: Micah Parsons, Neville Gallimore, Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence. They combined for, I think, 5 sacks on Sunday and had an interception and, a couple forced fumbles. And so, yeah, Micah's already really special. But, getting these guys back around him is going to make it even tougher to block them and open up even more opportunities, I think, for Micah.
And Bobby, I contend that this is the first time that I can remember, maybe since that 06-07 Cowboys, but they've got difference makers now at all 3 levels defensively. They got a shutdown corner. Parsons obviously is a terror, and they've got multiple guys when healthy that can rush the passer. This for all 3 levels, the 06-07, they had DeMarcus Ware. They were terrors up front. I don't know if the back end was quite as special as some of these players we're talking about, but defensively, I don't think they've brought this kind of elite talent to the playoffs in a while.
Yeah, it was probably that 07 season. That year they had 14 Pro Bowlers. That was probably the last time they were this stout defensively. Now, they did in 18, the last time they made the playoffs when they lost in the divisional round to the Rams. They did have, DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory rushing. They had, Leighton Vander Esch playing really well as a rookie at linebacker. And then Byron Jones was playing at an all-pro level of corner. But those guys were more just solid, stoppers. They weren't flashy. Like, this isn't the same thing as, they weren't big-time playmakers the way Trayvon Diggs is. The Cowboys, from 2015 through 2020, we're talking about 6 consecutive seasons, finished the year with 10 interceptions or fewer, 6 years in a row. It was the longest streak in NFL history. And Diggs this season has 9. Diggs has almost matched that himself this year. And so, I mean, you look at the playmakers in the secondary, Micah, what he can do, the pass rushers, they've definitely got a lot of talent on defense, and Dan Quinn's using it to his advantage, and it's come in and I think really put everybody in a position to succeed. The one downside would be Micah, when he rushes the passer, they don't have anybody at linebacker. So when he's coming on the blitz or anything else, they've not gotten very good, linebacker play. They had to cut Jalen Smith because he was playing so poorly. Leighton Vander Esch has not been good. This will be his last year in Dallas. I don't expect him to return. Keanu O'Neal, the experiment of moving him to linebacker, it's been hit or miss. So, you really got to kind of count on Mike. I think that's why they haven't moved him to defensive end full time at this point, is because they are so porous at linebacker outside of him. But yeah, when he's at linebacker and they've got the pass rush, they've got playmakers at every level of the defense.
Bobby Belt, NFL Network, host of the Boys and Girl podcast with Jane Slater. Follow Bobby on Twitter, Bobby Belt TX, Bobby Belt TX.
I think they need him. I'm curious if you think they need him. When is the running back room going to be healthy enough to try to make a January run, or is it going to be healthy enough?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, Zeke's knee's been bugging him for a while,
right?
And now you've got the partially torn plantar fascia for Tony Pollard, and so you never want foot injuries to a running back. So I don't know. I mean, I think they're more optimistic about Pollard being closer to 100% by the playoffs than Zeke, just because Zeke's been banged up all year, and Zeke's been, he's taken a punishment his 6 years in the league now, and so. This is about the age we're getting close where running backs start to decline a little bit. I mean, he still does a lot of really great things in pass protection, but I mean, he doesn't have the same burst that he had, a few years ago. And there's still a lot of just grind it out between the tackles. He doesn't do much to the outside. And so I think in terms of the, big chunk plays and some of the, up-tempo offense they like to run. I think Pollard is better suited for that. I think he's a better receiver right now than Zeke. I think that he's able to make bigger plays in the run game, but I mean, Zeke is still very important to them. And he, does a lot to punish the defense and wear them down. And like I said, he's a big part of the pass protection. There's been several times this year where he's saved Dak from getting killed when, a missed assignment was there from the offensive line. So, very important to them. I would, if they definitely, if they've got this thing clinched up the division and their seeding is pretty much set near the end of the year, I think they definitely will try to give Zeke some rest heading in the playoffs.
Yeah, he may be the best blocking running back in terms of picking up blitz coverage that I've seen anyway in the last 4 years. Zeke, Bobby, if I don't have a middle name, if I did, it would be Run the Ball More. It really would. I love running the damn ball, but I do think Kellen Moore needs to run the ball more, not just to avoid the pick six late against Washington, even against New Orleans. I thought they should have shortened that game. Is his play calling a bit of an issue?
I understand people wanting to run the ball more. The issue is just the blocking's not there and their backs are hurt. It's not generating anything for them. And so it's a little bit of kind of banging your head against a brick wall right now. I think the biggest criticism Kellen Moore's gotten here in Dallas, and something that Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore have answered in recent weeks, is the fact that why are you not running the ball to the outside more? It's just been a lot between the tackles. They're not trying to get things outside and get things in space. And Mike McCarthy said, we need to do a better job of that. We probably need to do more of that. And so, yeah, I think the heat is getting turned up a little bit on Kellen Moore, not his job, but just the criticism of, you're not putting this running game in the best position to succeed. It doesn't feel like right now. You're not helping out a quarterback who seems to honestly be struggling with some confidence right now for the first time in his career. You're not getting him some confidence building throws, some easy looks. It's been a little bit peculiar. There have been so many third and long situations in the last few weeks where Kellen Moore's just drawing up screen passes and willing to kick it away. And I think everybody looks at it and says, you've got three really talented receivers, a tight end who's come on really big. You've got receivers who can catch the ball, and you've got, that offensive line and that quarterback you paid $40 million to. Take some chances. Try and actually convert 3rd and 8. Don't just throw a smoker out and be happy to take 4 yards. And so, yeah, I think some criticism's coming towards Kellen Moore in the way he's calling the game, both, the run plays and the pass plays. But Yeah, I think most people with the run game right now, they just want to see him push it to the outside more and try and get things in space a little bit more, use some pre-snap motion to distract the defense, open up some running lanes, because it's been tough.
Bobby, thanks for making time for us. Appreciate it. Admire your work from afar. Be safe.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
Bobby Belt, NFL Network, host of the Boys and Girl podcast with Jane Slater, covering the Cowboys. You can follow Bobby on Twitter, Bobby Belt TX, Bobby Belt TX. We mentioned it earlier. They have the best conference record in the NFC. Now, they're right now 4. They're a game behind the top 3 seeds, but they play Arizona at home in 3 weeks. Obviously, a win at worst, because the other 3 games are the Giants, Washington, and the Eagles. I mean, Cowboys are going to be favored in at least 3 of their last 4. The Arizona game,
I think they'll be favored in all of them. I mean, I think they'll be a slight favorite against Arizona at home, David. I think that'll be 1.5, 2 points. Might even be a field goal.
And so I know we've had Dallas locked in as the 4 for a while. There's actually a chance for them to move up. Now, they lost to Tampa head-to-head, and Tampa's going to be favored in their final 4 games. Green Bay is going to be favored in their final 4 games.
They are, especially with the fact that they may be playing a Lamar-less Baltimore team. And they'll still be favored, but that's their toughest game at Baltimore.
Right. They host Cleveland on Christmas. And
they've got the toughest schedule because they've got the Vikings in there as well. And I mean, that's a huge rival. Yeah, but I know the Vikings don't win there typically, but they far and away have the toughest road the rest of the way.
Agreed.
And they might be the best team.
And they'll be favored in all 4 games, but it is the toughest road. So just wanted to talk a little Cowboys there.
Right now, which Bay team do you have more faith in?
Oh, Green. Yeah, Green.
Okay.
I do. Tampa's having trouble playing 60 minutes. Now, the Packers special teams were a disaster against the Bears, but I thought the other sides of the ball were playing. Tampa hasn't put it all together for a full 60, and they're going to need to, I think, to get by Rodgers. Also, can they win that game 2 years in a row, particularly if it's on the road?
Well, that's another whole element in and of itself. What's the number in that game?
If it was Tampa at Green Bay for the NFC Championship right now?
4?
I was going to say 4.5, 5.
If it's in Tampa. If somehow Tampa, runs the table, Green Bay loses.
Tampa -1, pick them. Be my guess.
I don't think you're wrong. Which means I think you're right, by the way.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, well, I'm just letting everybody else know. When you say you don't disagree, it means you actually agree with the person, but you're just a little too proud to say it. David, I think you're right. It's not that hard, everyone.
Wow. Been married 25 years. I'm not used to hearing that, Mark.
Well, talk to men more.
Rams beat the Cardinals last night. It means Green Bay's the 1, Tampa's the 2, Arizona's the 3 right now. Miller and Moulton. The good, bad, and ugly, what's on tap today was the day when final thoughts. About 25 minutes away here on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Send you a Christmas gift.
They sent me a Christmas card.
No, he should.
Yeah, he should.
Personally.
He should. That's
He should.
5 cars I bought from him. Eve bought 2 Equinoxes.
He
She
should.
totaled to 1. My dad bought 1, and now this is 2 Colorados. I just, it was funny. Like, this doesn't happen very often, but as I'm sitting across from the guy, they had one on the lot, and he's looking at that one and the one that's coming in. He goes, all right, this is not what I'm supposed to do here, but I would not buy the one that's here. I think the other truck's a far better truck. I'm not supposed to let you leave without selling you something, but I go, don't worry. I go, I'm actually one of those weirdos. You can't. There's not much you can do to change my mind right now. I said, I'm not told you I'm not buying anything right now.
You're in control of the Kirwan, right?
I am.
Okay. Well, Ryan, if Arizona's let's just say for whatever reason, Tampa were to lose, Arizona's the 2, and Tampa had to go to Arizona. It's a dome. I think they'd be fine.
They won't have home field advantage they'll barely be against the Packers or Cowboys. They'd barely have a home field advantage for that.
I do think for an NFC championship game, though, that Bucs fans would hold on to more of the tickets. But
I think there are a lot of people like me that are Bucs season ticket holders. I think there are a lot. In fact, I know how many tickets there are out in the market weekly because I check. It's crazy. Speaking of which, I hope I might have taken my Panthers tickets off the market.
Adam, I'm hearing Hurts, but that would be quite the indictment if they went with Minshew.
He said all along, I love when I open up StubHub and Everblades tickets pop up. Cracks me right up.
Well, Logic Man, they had that game totally put away until Dak threw the pick 6.
That, by the way, I don't know if you caught that. That was the angle that we watched it live on. If you just saw, that was the actual. It was so cool. Let's see.
But there's no doubt that the Bucs caught a break last year. There were only 9,000 fans at the game, and it was a very mild day. For Green Bay standards, to be about 38, 40 degrees, not much wind. I've been to Green Bay games in October with worse weather.
Hey, that was pretty good. Love transferring money into my account from PayPal. Bill's tickets just turned over.
Oh,
that was a good one.
I'll bet it was.
That was the best one of the year.
The Mafia?
Bills was 1, Giants was 2, Dolphins was 3. Or no. Cowboys was 2. Giants was 3. Dolphins was 4. That was a good schedule to sell tickets on.
It was an amazing schedule.
It
was an amazing schedule. It was not as good as the year the Raiders lost their first year last year to COVID. That would have been the greatest scalping year of all time.
Like next year, it's not that good. It's Rams, Seahawks, Ravens, Bengals. That's not that great.
No, it's not.
So you are a season ticket holder of the
Bucs.
Have you been to any games this year?
3 division games. What's the other?
Don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
But it looks like it'll be the Packers for a home game.
But Mark, you do it for the resale value?
Yeah.
So it's an investment.
Oh, yeah. So they'll go to NFC East next year. So it looks like they'll get Green Bay at home because Green Bay is going to, if they win the division, Green Bay wins the division, you're going to get Green Bay.
30 seconds.
We'll see if Rodgers is there, though.
And you got AFC West at home, whatever that crossover is for the.
Oh, yeah.
You get playoff seats too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I have club seats. I actually spend, they're $4,000 for the year for 2 seats. They're not cheap.
Wow. We're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks for being with us. Bonus hour of Miller and Moulton. Currently heard only in the 239. Thanks for being with us, Florida Sports Network. About 20 minutes away, good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, and final thoughts on this Tuesday. Tomorrow's national, well, it's early signing. It's National Letter of Intent Day, early signing, whatever you want to call it. Bowls begin on Saturday for those that are interested in that sort of thing. There's 2 of them.
I'm interested.
You are?
Well, yeah, you gamble on them.
There's, I think we got NFL on Saturday as well.
We got bowl games on Friday.
Don't we have,
we got bowl games starting at noon. We got
Wait,
matches
Friday?
at noon.
Friday, really?
We got the Bahamas Bowl, Toledo and Middle Tennessee State. The Rockets are laying 10 at noon.
That's the game that we want, right?
That should be the Hertz Bowl, played at Naples High School.
Right.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a bowl game and basically steal it from the Bahamas.
That's the one we need.
Right. So do you think, how many people do you think would go to, did you say Toledo?
Toledo, Middle Tennessee State. I think 14,000.
You're crazy.
Actually, I'm not.
You think you'd get 14 if there was a facility that could handle it, which there's not.
Well, let me just put it this way. Let's just say in my dream world,
right,
it's at JetBlue.
Okay. Yeah, well, but there's a place that can hold
But
it.
let's just say, it's at one of the baseball stadiums that holds around 10 or 11.
Right.
Now, it'd have to be bigger than that because I think you'd have to get to 20 to even come close to that.
I think the minimum's 15,000 seat
I think
stadium.
if we had 15,000 seats, I think we'd sell it out every year.
You think it would be like
the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama.
And City of Palms and that sort of thing, that it would become an event.
Yes. Hey, look, I could be wrong, and I know Ben Allen did great things with The Voice and all that, and he's a local guy, and he's terrific. And I mean no ill will towards Ben Allen, but, a year ago, they had Darius Rucker headlining that thing. This year, the band's, I'm not a country guy, but it was not the marquee names that they had a year ago. There's still 10,000 people at that concert.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't get a ticket.
No, you could not. If
done right, we adopt things here in this marketplace. City of Palms, you can't get a ticket ever.
Well,
early you can, but not for the late games.
No, once you get about midway through that tournament, it's hard.
So, I think we would adopt it. But the other game Friday, David, is Coastal Carolina and Northern Illinois. Coastal laying 10.5. And why that may be a bad bet.
Well, first off, because it's Northern Illinois, and you and I have made a lot of money over the years on NIU.
Well, David, not just that, but do you remember the Pythagorean theorem that you did in math or whatever?
Yeah.
If I said that right?
Yep.
At least, okay.
Close enough.
Close enough. Well, they have one that some people in the sports world, they call it the Pythagorean expectation, which calculates a team's expected win percentage based on point differential. It was done in baseball. It's been used for football. Northern Illinois, by this, was the luckiest team in college football this year.
The luckiest?
The luckiest.
Huh.
They were almost 3 wins over expected and then winning the MAC championship. Sparty was number 2. San Diego State and UTSA were 3 and 4, basically mirror images of one another. Now, when I was looking at this, I'm like, where's Michigan on this list? Because they were picked to be 4th with however things work. They didn't even make the top 20. Do you know who the most unlucky team was in college football this year?
Nebraska?
And it wasn't close. David, Tulane was the next closest team. They were like 2.5 wins under expected. Nebraska was at nearly 5.
They went 3-9, and they easily could be bowling. Hell, I could almost make a case that they could have finished second in the West.
To tell you on the unlucky side, to tell you, and this is based on expected wins, to tell you how wrong the experts were this year, let me just give you, because when I went through the luckiest teams, there weren't a lot of good teams on the list. Like Oregon and Iowa are on the list. Old Miss is on the list. Cincinnati actually made the list. Notre Dame made the list, but the Baylor, the rest of these teams are not big boy teams. On the other end, where expectations were not met, Florida, USC, Florida State, Tennessee, Washington, A&M, Texas, Penn State, Auburn, Iowa State, but Nebraska, out of all of them, take the cake.
But when I think unlucky, I think that they just caught bad breaks. I mean, some of these teams earned their underachievement.
I think they all did. I think the bigger point of this is, David, is that it's the expected win list. Take the lucky out. That was the headline. That's on me.
Gotcha.
I shouldn't have really used the headline. But based on expected wins, what it just shows you is how lofty we have expectations for teams that don't deserve them. You know, David, if we would have, we were pretty accurate on this. We told everybody before the season, Florida's taking a step back.
Yeah, I took a lot of heat. Went on a couple of radio shows.
I'm sure you did. I would have said the same thing.
You said you got to take the under on the Gators.
So you're right. Luck's probably a bad word.
But, it gets clicks. So,
well, and it's on a betting site. It was an Action Network thing. So you are absolutely right there. But I just found it interesting because every year we do this with so many teams.
Sure. We play the schedule game, and we're largely wrong. That's why they play the games. That's why we watch. That's why we're interested. I am hoping, by the way, because you're talking college football, it would be nice to get two decent semifinals. I don't think they've ever had both games be decent. I'm not even talking good. I'm not talking very good. I'm talking decent. Can Cincinnati, Alabama be competitive, late third, heading to the fourth? Yeah. I mean, if it's 24-14 Alabama, start of the fourth quarter, quite frankly, I'd take that.
Absolutely. And David, as Bill was talking and just listening to you, you've been harping on this for a while. And as I've watched enough Cincinnati now, I keep thinking it. I really wish they had a kicker. Now, I know they're probably going to have to score touchdowns and go for it more against Alabama. But when you're playing big boys, you can't be a C- in the special teams game when everybody else is operating at an A.
Or at least a B. I mean, you got to figure in Cincinnati's case, when there are points to be had, you got to get them.
Yeah. And I don't trust them to be able to get them because they miss a lot of 35-yard field goals. And that's not supposed to happen.
No, it is not.
Wasn't there a San Diego Chargers team that had the number one rated offense and defense, but one of the worst special teams of all time that missed the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was about 4 years ago. They managed to miss it at 9-7. They started the year 0-4, finished strong, but they blew so many games early, especially by special teams, that they ended up missing the playoffs.
And don't talk to Tampa fans about kickers because it's bitten the Bucs for what seemed to be every bit of a decade.
I knew the Bucs were going to win the Super Bowl last year when late in the NFC Championship game, they brought their kicker out in what was a 5-point game, and he drilled like a 46-yarder at Lambeau mid-fourth quarter. Yep. And every Bucs fan watching is like, oh, my goodness, he's not going to make this kick.
This
They're going to give him the field position. They're going to score, take the lead, right? And he drilled it right through to make it an 8-point game. And I thought to myself, wow, okay, this is different. Just to give you very quickly an idea as to how uncompetitive 2014 season was the first year that we went to 4. That was a year Florida State was trying to repeat. Oregon beat them by 39 in the semifinal. They were the defending national champions. They hadn't lost a game in 2 years. They lost by 39. The other semifinal, I think, is the best semifinal game that's been played so far. Ohio State rallied from, I think it was 21-6 deficit and beat Alabama by a touchdown on their way to the national championship. The next year marked the 2 semifinals. Bama beats Sparty by 38. Clemson beats Oklahoma by 20. The next year in the semis, Bama beats Washington by 17 in a dreadful game. Clemson beats Ohio State 31-0.
I will say, you want to be the first game. You want to be the second game when you get whacked. Because in my head, Michigan State was beaten so badly, you'd already forgotten that the second game you couldn't even pay attention. You want to get whacked first.
I had forgotten about the Georgia-Oklahoma double overtime Rose Bowl. That's
unbelievable.
Obviously the best semifinal.
Right.
And then Alabama Clemson couldn't get past midfield. This was the year in between Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and Bama beat them by 18. And Bama didn't even try to throw the ball in the second half. They were just trying to run out the clock. Another dreadful game. 2019 Orange Bowl, Bama jumps out to a 31-0 lead. That needs to be pointed out because the final margin was 11. It was not a competitive game.
Not at all. Still say if Eifert catches the third down there.
Against Clemson? Or are you talking about when the
that's the championship game. I'm sorry, yeah.
And then also in 2019, Clemson beats Notre Dame by 27 in the Cotton Bowl. Yeah. LSU beat Oklahoma by 5 touchdowns. 5. Clemson, Ohio State played a good game. Ohio State outplayed them. Clemson won 29-23. Last year, the 2 semifinals, Bama beats Notre Dame pretty handily by 17. Ohio State beats Clemson by 3 touchdowns. So we've had 2.
3.
All right, I said 3 touchdowns.
No.
We've had 3 good games.
That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
You said we've had 3. 3 good games. As you've gone through that, we've had 3 good games.
By the way, that's out of 14.
Right.
So can we get 2? We've never had 2 in the same
I'll take 1
year. Well, yeah, 1 would even
I'll
be
take
nice.
1. Let Michigan and Georgia be great. If Alabama blows out Cincinnati, fine. Just let Michigan and Georgia be great. It's going to look so damn good on television with those unis.
Well, I hope they both wear what they should wear. I'm afraid Michigan's going to wear the blue pants because, well, they've won their last 2 games in the blue pants, so they're not going to alter.
Doesn't matter. Those helmets against those helmets are going to look spectacular.
It will. It will. I was just hoping that Michigan would wear, what they should, and Georgia could go, red pants, white tops, and both wear the helmets they should.
I'd love to see a color rush game and see Michigan wear the blue and Georgia wear the red. You want to know the truth?
The good, the bad, and the ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts all coming up. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You tell me. Logic Man in the Twitch chat room said it'd be real easy to set up packages for a bowl game down here this time of year. And my argument is, do you know how expensive it would be?
Hotels are not full right now. You put it after Christmas, you're effed. You do it the week before Christmas right now? Yeah.
So we'll do it the Saturday before Christmas or 2 Saturdays before, depending on how the calendar falls. One of the first bowl games. You think the travel packages for Toledo, Middle Tennessee State, for those fan bases, you think they'd
By the way, I'm not being a dick here. I can't have Conference USA in my bowl game. I can have the MAC. I would be begging anything to get. I might go AAC. They're a little. I want something northern.
Right. Don't know if you can get it. I agree with you. Take out Conference USA. Fine. It's MAC.
Against AAC 6.
Well, if you could get AAC, that's...
Now we're moving lunch up. Noon or 12:30, guys.
It's even better.
I know it is. Noon or 12:30 better for you. Noon's fine. He just moved lunch up.
I'm guessing the other guy's not going to be there then.
He is. He's heading up to Lando, or they're going north after.
Okay.
I just said noon is best for all. Just couldn't answer that quick enough.
Love the fact that I dropped the Cowboys defense just in time for
You need a
Dominic.
ride then? Does that screw you up with Mom?
No, it actually works out perfectly. I should be able to go to lunch and then drop her. I'll
Okay. And come back?
and come back and get her.
All right. So you have to leave by 1:30?
I got to leave by 1:15, 1:30. Actually, I'll just have her take me. It just makes it easier that way.
All right. Let me know.
I might just go to Cigar Bar and start drinking after.
You know, Klecko, that's interesting. I've never been to the new Braves Stadium. Northport.
Truist Park. Very nice.
You've been?
My brother just went and FaceTimed me for like 15 minutes in the park. So, no, I haven't been, but it looks really
No. I'm sorry. I'm talking Braves Spring Training Stadium, not the Braves Stadium in L.A. Yeah, or Atlanta, which looks terrific.
Yeah, it's relatively new.
I'm not even going to bet the Michigan. It might get to 9.5. Why would you bet that right now, right?
Well, if it's going to keep going up.
Right.
What am I missing?
I was talking to Jake about it yesterday. Like he was driving, so we talked for about 50 minutes. I'm like, Jake, that's when I said, do you have is there anything in your head that reminds you of Georgia Bama with Hurts and Tua, and that at the half he's going to have to pull Stetson out of the game and play someone that can move the ball? I mean, Georgia's got a good receiver and a good tight end.
Well, it'll be fascinating, though, is that this is actually the type of matchup Georgia wants. Michigan's going to want to line it up, play power football. Georgia's like, oh, thank God.
Right.
Thank God. This we can defend. We can keep 99 on the field in this type of game.
Lunch is at Miller's, right?
What are you
Correct.
doing?
What?
By the way, don't ever let people know what we're doing. Okay, don't. Yeah. Don't do that.
What the fuck?
We got to have some privacy here.
Jesus Christ.
We'll change it now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're not eating there. It definitely is. Be tweeting out in about 4 seconds. Holy cow.
I'm sorry.
He thinks we're just hanging out here. Hey, go back to talking NBA headbands.
This is a private thing,
Yeah,
okay?
I know.
No, obviously
Just
you
'cause
don't.
Well, no, I
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
$20 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. I'll tell you what, you really should take in this show on Twitch. All right. The commercial breaks, which were fairly entertaining when it was just Miller and Moulton, have become downright spectacular over half the time, thanks to the addition of Felipe. Outstanding.
Commercial breaks are brought to you by the Babysitters Club,
No,
where we have to take care of children.
just stop it. Somebody asked a question. He was very excited. He answered it. He should not have. Okay.
Now I got to change all the plans for today, but thank you for that.
And yet he's still getting fed. He's still getting a free lunch out of the deal. I'll tell you what. Time now for...
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
Little this, little that. One tragic happening on this date. But we'll start, Mark, in 1819. Alabama becomes our 22nd state today.
Roll damn Tide.
1903, the Wright brothers' first attempt to fly in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. It was their first attempt. 1911, the South Pole is discovered. Norwegian Roald Amundsen and his expedition reach the South Pole first in 1911. Let me tell you. Imagine how that meeting went 115 years ago. You know what we should do?
Well, there's a lot more to that. So many people died on that.
It's I know.
I mean, we can make light of it, I guess, because it was over 100 years ago. But I mean, idiotic and a bunch of people died. But they got to the South Pole.
Well, they did.
Go team.
There was an entire group that got there second, and every single member of the group died.
Right.
Trying to get out. So it's a real toe tapper of a story.
Wait for the movie.
Jack Dempsey became heavyweight champion of the world on this date in 1920. He knocked out Bill Brennan in the 12th round. 1930, the Giants defeated Notre Dame 22-0 in a charity football game. I always like mentioning, we had about a 30 or so year run where an NFL team and a college team
or a college all-star team, which happened forever,
would play the team that won the NFL championship. They would meet. And the funny thing is there were a couple times that the college all-stars won.
Yep.
Because the NFL guys were not training year-round. They were making no money. So what did they do?
Went to work.
They went to work for 6 to 7 months and showed up out of shape. And they're like, hey, you got to play the college all-stars in a game. What? Mark, it was on this date in 1938, Major League Baseball that made two decisions. One, they came up with a standard baseball. And after much debate, the owners only wanted a roster of 23. The commissioner overruled them and set what lasted for 70 plus years, the 25-man roster. Mark, on this date in 1946, the UN votes to establish their headquarters in New York City. New Yorkers have been trying to get rid of the UN ever since.
It's done hell for traffic.
And that nobody has to pay any of their... they don't get prosecuted for any crimes. They don't have to pay any of the parking tickets. It's
right.
Anyway. NASCAR founded on this date in 1947 in Daytona Beach. 1969, the Jackson 5 first appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. And Peter, Paul, and Mary, Leaving on a Jet Plane, Mark, was the #1 song in the country. Leaving on a Jet Plane, written by
John Denver.
There you go.
Come on now.
I just threw one in underhanded for you.
It's not Almost Heaven, but it's pretty good,
1974, The Towering Inferno was released. Steve McQueen, Paul Newman.
All right.
I love that movie. It was on this date in 1984, Howard Cosell retired from Monday Night Football. 1988, the Heat, after an 0-17 start in franchise history, win their first game. They beat the Clippers 89-88.
Love it. That's who your first win should always be against.
Especially then. All right, Desmond won his Heisman 30 years ago today.
Hello, Heisman.
Thank you, Keith Jackson. Others who won the Heisman on the state, Danny Werfel, Ricky Williams, Mark Ingram, Joe Burrow. I voted for Werfel and Williams. I voted for the Heisman 3 times. I voted for all 3 winners. Werfel,
And 2 of them were the correct votes.
right? Woodson and Ricky Williams, and well,
Just wait for your phone to buzz.
Right.
That way I know whether or
Yeah.
not Danielson's
if
listening.
Danielson's listening, I'll be fired within 30 seconds. 1992, Lennox Lewis is awarded the WBC heavyweight title because Rick wouldn't fight him. Bo just kept fighting Holyfield. They had that great trilogy. He didn't recognize Lewis as a worthy opponent.
Crazy, too.
Yep. You know, the heavyweight division in the early 90s was
really
actually
good.
really good,
Right.
and nobody ever recognizes it. 1993, the movie Philadelphia premiered. 2008, President Bush, his last visit to Baghdad. You remember the Iraqi journalist threw his shoes at him? Happened on this date in 08, which apparently was like the worst insult you could do, apparently, in Iraq.
Right. The shoes.
The shoes.
You could spit on someone. That's okay. But don't throw your shoes at them.
You could stab them, and
Right.
it apparently is not as bad of an attack as throwing your shoes at someone. Nothing light and jovial about 9 years ago today when America, well, fundamentally changed, quite frankly, when the Sandy Hook tragedy happened at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. 28 people were slaughtered, including 20 children. And we basically offered thoughts and prayers.
I was going to say, I don't know how it's
their
changed. The same crap happens all the time, and we still offer thoughts and prayers.
Well, that's why, because there are events like that that have happened in other countries in which the country has fundamentally changed. We shrugged our shoulders, offered thoughts and prayers, and moved on.
Yep.
6 years ago, Star Wars: The Force Awakens premiered. 5 years ago, Amazon first used a drone to deliver something. And it may seem longer, maybe to you it seems shorter. It was a year ago today that the first COVID vaccine was administered. It was the Pfizer vaccine.
Wow. It does seem longer than that.
Doesn't it? Famous birthdays on this date. People who have passed away. Mark: Nostradamus, Bill Buckner, Alan Kulwicki, Ernie Davis.
Did Nostradamus predict that he would die today?
I don't believe so. And if he did, he didn't use social media when he was born on this date in 1503. Don Hewitt, I believe he's still alive. Longtime executive producer, 60 Minutes. 99 years old today. Stan Smith, who won a U.S. Open in Wimbledon, is 75 today. Craig Biggio is 56 today. Niners coach Kyle Shanahan is 42. And Vanessa Hudgens is 33. My daughter watched a lot of High School Musical.
No problem. There's a few errors and omissions today. We'll start with one I thought you'd get to. Kind of bummed me out. Today in 1836, the Toledo War unofficially ends. It was the start of Ohio State beating the hell out of Michigan. They kept Toledo.
Okay, well, was it the Toledo? No?
It was the Ohio, though.
Too soon?
I do believe it was
All
the
right.
Ohio, David. And thank you for that. And also, 68, I just thought this was pretty cool. Motown had the top 3 spots on the Hot 100. Marvin Gaye's I Heard It Through the Grapevine, 1. Love Child by the Supremes, 2. For Once in My Life, Stevie Wonder, 3. That's for your mother, David, who will fight anyone at any time when they argue over Motown not being the best music ever made.
What were those songs?
I Heard It Through the Grapevine by
That's all
Marvin
I need.
Gaye.
That's all I needed to hear, because now I'm going to be singing it the whole rest of the day.
Love Child by the Supremes and For Once in My Life by Stevie. It was today in 1977 that Saturday Night Fever opened in theaters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a biggie.
Yeah,
I mean,
missed that
of
one.
the omissions there.
Yeah, Travolta.
And then the only other one, just because as a kid, I for whatever reason loved this song. Charlie Rich, born today in 1932, died in 95. The most beautiful girl in the world. For whatever reason, as a kid, I loved that song. That's all I got for you. That's my Arizona omissions, which leads us to.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
So the kids, as far as I've been told, and Felipe can back me on this, are big fans of this barstool thing called Rough and Rowdy, where normal people fight one another. Well, I don't know if it's taken off around the rest of the world, but at least in Brazil, there was something close, David, where 39-year-old Sameo, I'm not even going to try. He's the mayor of Borba, Brazil. And Enreno Alaves da Silva had been arguing. Da Silva had been critical of the mayor online, calling him a scoundrel. How did they do it? Well, they got things up back on the same page with a 3-round MMA bout.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about. You politicians want to yell stupid things at one another? Get in a ring and fight. I'm in. For the bad, we go to Fort Myers, where folks are looking for a man who went to someone's house and posed as a potential buyer for his Audi S4 and then said, "Can I take your car for a test drive?" And the idiot owner of the car said, "Sure." That car's gone. You get in the car with the person.
Right. I thought that was understood.
Right.
You know what happens when you assume?
Got that right. Finally, the ugly, we go to Miami, where a federal jury convicted a man of kidnapping a plastic surgeon. 56-year-old Serge Nikora was found guilty after his wife's plastic surgery apparently did not go well. They kidnapped the plastic surgeon, bought devices from a medical supply company, and tortured the man, trying to get his residents to rob him. They used a blowtorch, but then the guys who used the blowtorch chickened out when the doorbell camera was there and they thought they would get busted, so they left the victim at a strip club parking lot. They are in jail now. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on this 14th of December, 2021.
It's a Tuesday, so it's a TNT doubleheader tonight for those of you into the association. Golden State, with the best record in the league, is at the Garden to take on the Knicks. Curry will set the all-time three-point record when he hits his second one of the game. He'll move past Ray Allen. Boy, people are making a big deal about this record.
It's history, sports history.
The reason why to people of our age, Philly, it's not as big a deal is because it's not like they've been throwing touchdowns in the NFL for the last 40 years. You know, when Brady, Breeze, and them break Marino's record, we feel as if it's kind of sort of the same game. You know, Larry Bird would probably be the one with the all-time three-point record, but you were not encouraged to shoot threes when he played.
Yeah, the analytics had not happened yet. I mean,
remember when I did Today Was the Day When last week, and the Knicks set the record for most three-pointers made in a game with 11.
Right.
Yeah, go to Pro Basketball Reference.
That's my Bible.
Go to it and just look up Larry Bird's three-point statistics.
He doesn't have many, but his percentages are amazing.
Think about that.
Right.
I know.
That's the whole point.
And very quickly, NHL, Lightning hosting the Kings, Panthers hosting the Senators. All the games on streaming tonight or your local regional sports cable network. And that'll do it. Seth Everett on the show tomorrow. That we can guarantee.
Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow as well, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.